Yeah, that's really like
Big screen up there.
No, I'm talking about the background.
Oh, good evening, everyone. What is going on? Episode 70 of the South Florida Gamers Podcast. I'm your host, the Silverback Senpai. Across the table from me is Waluigi.
Oh, good evening, folks. Long time no see. It's been less than 24 hours, and happy to be here again.
Absolutely. And we also have some returning guests. Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Go for it.
Ben, a.k.a. Uber's Cosplay.
Eddie from Flynn's.
I'm David, a.k.a. Four Face Buttons.
Oh, not this guy again.
Unfortunately.
Were you here yesterday?
No.
I was here yesterday, actually. Not for the podcast.
Not for the podcast, but for the evening. I know. I saw the Twitch. You guys showing off the tattoos and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, good on Master Raven. He beat my ass. Not happy about that. But I gotta hold the loss.
Cool.
All right, so this episode of the podcast is going to be available on all audio hosting platforms. Just go ahead and Google search South Florida Gamers Podcast, and you will find us there. And, of course, video playback will be available on Facebook and YouTube later this week. So, getting right into it, Waluigi, go ahead and list off the first topic that we have for tonight.
So, did you guys ever have foresight to see gaming where it is now and compare it to back in the late 80s and 90s?
Where gaming is today?
Yeah. Like, did you guys, see this type of stuff coming?
Before you answer that, I will say for tonight's topic, this is just the 30-plus edition of the podcast. So all of us except Waluigi are over the age of 30. So majority of...
Who's the oldest, though? I think, am I?
I think you.
Are you 30?
I think I'm older than you.
You're 39?
I'm 37.
I'm 38.
Oh,
Okay,
God,
so Eddie's the oldest one.
38. I'm the oldest. Born in 1984. The movie,
85.
The year all the movies, good movies came in.
And I'm 88.
Yeah,
So-
89.
So all of us here, except Waluigi, have, I would say, what, over
Did you say
two...
2006?
96.
Oh, I was gonna say.
I'm like, hold on! I'm like, what are they feeding these kids to make it look like me?
It's crazy.
So all of us here, except Waluigi, has like over 20 years of gaming experience in so many different genres and fields. So today's just that special episode. So now we can continue with the topics and go ahead and read it off again. Sorry for the cutoff.
You're fine, you're fine. Did you have the foresight to see gaming where it is now, compared to back then in the late 80s and 90s?
I didn't. Today it's much more complicated than it was in the past.
Oh, that's definitely agreed.
Right? Like you get a game, you got to download 600 gigabytes of other content.
I think I thought we'd be living in the video game.
Yeah.
Oh my God, like Tron.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what the movies wanted you to think
Right.
back then. I'm still waiting for my self-lacing shoes, my hoverboards, my flying cars.
Yeah.
So, you know.
There was a lot more like there was more like in-person camaraderie back in the 90s, because if you wanted to play with your friends, you had to be in the physical room with them.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
got replaced by the internet.
That got replaced by the internet.
There was options to play online back then. It's just that not a lot of people used them. You had even like SegaNet.
Yeah, that's
Before
true.
You could plug your
You had,
Genesis into the net for
You had
Yeah.
Expand on Super Nintendo and Genesis, and you had SegaNet.
Yeah. And you talk about
SNES didn't SNES have a feature?
It had
Well,
something called the X-Band.
You
Yeah.
talk about downloading games too. You could do that on SegaNet. You could
you
download
could
games
download
on your
games.
cartridges. So it's
No, but we could have a disc, and like, let's say you want to play a game, you go home, you just put the disc in, and it runs.
Yeah,
Now, it's not the case.
not really. No, day one DLC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, it's worse now than it is back then, because now, let's just say you get the game on a physical disc and you put the disc in, now you have to download the update. Or if you're, for a good example, like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 that came out last year, even though you have the disc, you still need to download everything else just for you to play the game.
Damn.
Yeah.
Like what's even on the disc? 'Cause
Extra
the games are
steps.
huge
It's
nowadays.
freaking no, because they're calling all the data. So you got to call the data from wherever it's being called from, the server, and download it to your system.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Because think of how many
subscription.
discs they would have to give you.
That's
It'd be
what
like
I
a
mean.
Bible. Be like, here you go. Here's Call of Duty.
Well, I mean,
you know,
it's
like,
Just for the
It's
levels.
funny
Here's the one for the
because,
textures.
That's how it used to be for PC games.
Right, yeah.
Where there were like 5 or 6 install discs.
Yeah.
Right.
And then there was a play disc.
or like as you move through the game. I remember as you move through the
sure,
game.
Yeah, the really
like Command
old
and
games.
Conquer, they would have like
The Soviet campaign.
you'd have
like
different
campaign.
discs. Even StarCraft had it.
Yeah.
StarCraft had
Multiple discs.
the expansion disc and then the original disc. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was a lot less complicated.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it's frustrating to me because I remember growing up, getting to the Xbox 360 age, and this idea of developers have the option to patch a game. Obviously, that started with PC, but I feel like it, at least for consoles especially, really took off during the Xbox 360. And I love this idea of like, oh, if there's a mistake in a game, they can fix it.
Right.
It's like this is going to be, and they can add more content. This is going to be great.
I see what you're saying.
What ends up happening is like, well, they're just not finishing the game.
Right.
They'll release it early and they'll finish it later.
Yeah, they're letting
which
you
is like,
beta test it.
Yeah. And
They're
it's
letting you
like,
beta test it.
It's some real monkey's paw kind of thing.
Yeah, no.
It's terrible. I hate it.
It is.
I'd rather go back in the day where it's like, you know what? Maybe the game's not perfect, but at least it's finished. At least it is what it is to a certain extent.
Yeah. 100%.
I put the cartridge
And we
in
were
and
happy
I
with
go.
it.
Yeah,
We were happy to play it.
I mean, that's all we had.
Simpler
At
times.
least I was.
Oh, well, yeah, no, I was.
Now
It was
people are
cool.
there wasn't YouTube, so people weren't disgruntled. You had to write into Power Magazine
Right?
and disclose the problem.
Oh my gosh.
Back then, if
That's specific.
if a character was broken in a fighting game, you had to write a letter and buy a stamp and mail it to Capcom.
They should institute that again. No more emails. No more. You got a problem with Flynn's? Write a letter. Mail it in.
You'll get a lot less complaints, but at least the ones you do get, you can take them a little more seriously.
He went through the effort.
Someone actually tried.
Yeah. It's like, all right, let's see what he has to say.
In cursive.
There you go.
Klingon.
I would say like the foresight that I had like growing up was the fact that games are gonna get better. It's gonna look graphically better. The visuals are gonna be good. The sound's gonna be really great. The soundtrack that you hear for certain games are gonna be really good to the point where it's like, okay, I want to listen to this more. Like there are times where back then I would literally just like a good game, a good example, Gundam Battle Assault 2, where
Oh, sure.
the menu, you could just leave it on and just be like, just listen to the whole thing, just like chill and relax, because it was just so soothing to just listen to. Now, yeah, you can, get the soundtrack separately, but sometimes they charge you for it, which fine. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll support that, but it did make me appreciate the fact that back then, everything is getting better, but also at the same time, you also have those minor grievances that you have with gaming, where it's like, man, I wish you guys could have went back then, where we would have, if we spent $60, that's the full game. I got a full complete game. Yeah. Now all of a sudden it's just I spent $60 just to get like a quarter of the game, and now I have to spend an additional $20 or $40 for additional content to make the game feel complete. Or one of the things I would tell people to do is wait for a Game of the Year edition.
Yeah, because you'll have everything or some deluxe edition. We have a lot of comments going on.
Yeah, the master editions, those kind of things, though, they got their own problems. I don't know if you're familiar with like the Mass Effect Legendary Edition.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
The way they remake and remaster certain games, and
Well,
it's
they outright remove some of the DLC. So like the Pinnacle Station DLC from the first game, because that was like an Xbox Live exclusive thing, just got totally axed just because they couldn't get the rights to it.
Oh, yeah.
That's weird.
Gaming has definitely changed.
It's disappointing because back in the day, obviously there were expansion packs. That was a very common thing. Mm-hmm. But it felt like you were getting something
More.
I mean, maybe I'm being naive. Maybe if I'm looking back, I might be wrong. I don't know. I'm not going to be an expert on this, but it felt like you were getting something substantial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These days, I mean, what, an expansion pack back then was like $20?
Yeah,
These
and-
days, I don't know if they're still charging for map packs in Call of Duty,
No, not anymore.
but I remember during like the PS3,
Oh,
360
yeah.
era, it was like $15 for a couple maps or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not even equivalent to the same amount of content. It doesn't make sense. Why is it charging so much for so little?
Yeah.
It was frustrating.
And then by the time we're like, okay, we're going to give you guys a sale to release all the map packs. And then it's like right before the next Call of Duty game comes out. So
That's
just
how they
like,
do it.
hey, here's a sale to get, all the content from this current game. But next month, we're also dropping another game.
Yeah.
That's how they get you.
Yeah, that it absolutely is, because obviously everyone wants to jump ship to the next game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no one's going to be around to play the maps that you just bought, so it's a waste. I started seeing that. That's one of the things that made me stop playing Call of Duty. and I was just like, I'm done. Like I'm not gonna keep spending money every season on a video game. Oh, but Guilty Gear's great though.
You have to be biased. You're sponsored.
No matter what, they're gonna get you somehow.
Oh, definitely.
Yes, they will.
If you want to play this medium, you want to play this, you want to play video games, you know.
It's gonna cost you.
It's gonna cost you. They're gonna get you somehow. It is what it is.
What about your thoughts, Waluigi?
With gaming.
Even though you're the youngest one.
Honestly, I started like the N64, Game Boy Advance. I was not expecting to have a shit ton of downloading process, going through steps, mods. Like I was not introduced to this until like my early 20s. Seeing this now and then seeing like emulations and reanimating such games, it's very good to give a second chance for people like me that weren't introduced to much. But definitely with gaming, I did not see this coming either. I expected hoverboards and shit. I'm not gonna lie.
I believe a lot of us did like expect like gaming to, you know, take us to this brand new utopia, but it's like it's not a utopia. It doesn't feel like a utopia. If anything, it just feels like we're getting ripped off even more, and it's costing us, and it's just like.
But at least we're here in an arcade doing it together.
Yeah. At least.
I think a big part of it is we wouldn't keep doing it if we didn't have a love for the medium.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
Oh,
Which
100%
I
agreed.
absolutely do. I'm willing to shell out, you know, whatever extra they want to charge, just because I'm really infatuated by the potential that video games can do, and I want to like keep seeing how this goes further.
So it's your fault.
Oh, no, 100%, yeah.
Well, whenever, like, on another note, whenever you see collegiate institutions beginning to pick up on this whole esports thing, it could go one of two ways. It could be positive, but most likely extremely negative, because of the mere fact that now they're going to capitalize on this.
Yeah.
As we're being approached now by multiple collegiate institutions in South Florida that all want to have a gaming element. And then I'm like, wait a second, you have no clue what this is all about.
Exactly.
They're like, oh, we don't care. And I'm like,
They
well,
just want a piece of the pie.
yeah, they want a piece of the pie. Then you got to ask yourself, if they want a piece of the pie, what are the developers going to start doing? You know, how are they going to modify games or produce them quicker or whatever the case may be to keep up with it? It's kind of like animation, like cartoons.
Yeah.
There's so much, it's content overload, you know, like now. Same video games seem to be the same way, like that Game Pass thing that they have on like PlayStation
On-
stuff.
Yeah, PlayStation
Like
Plus
this,
has
so
it.
much- it's a cool thing, but it's so much content to dig.
There is.
There's more money in it than Hollywood now.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah.
So that's the thing.
And so you got to ask yourself, if everyone starts going to school for game design and the game design field gets more competitive, what's going to happen to the gaming eventually?
Well, now you have a lot of people that flunked out in film school to go into video games.
Yeah.
So that's why you get everything that has to be like this big, epic, long story that, you know, all the writers in Hollywood turned me
it's a
down,
movie
so I'll
plot.
go to a video game studio
True.
and make it instead.
That's where you get your Hideo Kojimas.
Yeah.
As much
He's-
as he's pretty cool. He's done
He's
some good stuff.
legitimately bitter he could not make it in film.
Oh, 100%, yeah. Like that's not, if you read into like his interviews and the stuff he said, like it's pretty clear.
Yeah.
I was
did not know
gonna,
And now you have The Last of Us.
I'm
A
not-
game that wanted to be a movie.
and now it's a
And now
TV show.
it's a bad game became a bad TV show.
Oh, the turns have tables.
Like,
That's what
it's
The
like
Office
The Walking
would say.
Dead. It reminds me a lot of The Walking Dead, but we're not going to talk about that. It's not horrible.
How
it's
is it that a
watchable.
PS3 game looks better than a multi-million-dollar like television production?
We don't know.
It's easy to forget, yeah. Last
We
Did
time.
they
don't know.
cast
How
that
quickly-
actress
how-
just because she looks that terrible?
Are you talking about who? Which
The main girl.
The
Ellie.
one who's playing Ellie. Yeah.
Oh God.
I don't
It's
want
like, oh God, it's a click. Oh no, it's the main character.
Well, also, they got the guy from, what's his face, from Mandalorian.
Is that who that is?
Yeah, that's the main.
They like threw a bunch of like gray paint on him, so I didn't recognize.
You know what? They made it bad on purpose so you would talk about it.
You know,
Success.
You're giving them free advertising.
You're right.
I thought this was the actress at one point.
Yeah. I can't say the more like evil things I thought when I saw her. Let's put it that way.
I mean,
But you watched it.
I'm not
So they
wrong,
got us
though.
all.
I watched it because I was falling asleep on the floor next to my girlfriend. She had it on, and the dogs were like lying on me. So I'm like, I guess I'll watch this. And I didn't even like hear it. I was like watching the subtitles, and I'm like, it's just the game with some of the sequences out of order and like really bad acting.
Oh, I didn't play the game.
So, I mean, like the game wasn't good. So
The first one was okay.
the first one was okay if it was like a walking simulator /
Yeah.
CGI movie.
Yeah.
And now it's like a show, and I'm just like, well, it's just the game again. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
I
You
don't
kind of know what to expect, and we won't talk about the second one because I know you have some very.
I've heard this lecture 3 times already.
Yeah.
There's more than in my car.
I've never met this guy before, but like
Hi.
instantly, I relate to you so well. Like, good lord.
It's very simple. Just assume everything will disappoint you, and you'll usually be okay.
Exactly.
Not wrong at all.
What you were saying about companies wanting to, or
The collegiate level. yeah.
collegiate institutions wanting to get into this industry. That kind of, as any industry, as any medium becomes more and more mainstream, it gets to the point where you want to try to make your product appeal to the largest audience possible.
Correct.
And unfortunately, the largest audience possible might not be the people who are currently playing the game,
Yeah.
who are currently most devoted. So it becomes this weird balance where like we need to appease the people that the spectators are coming to watch in the first place, but we want to appease the spectators as well.
Right.
And when it leans too far to the spectators, the people who actually play the game
And buy the game.
and buy the game, they're gonna stop, and then it's like all of a sudden it's like, oh, why is no one buying our game anymore?
Yeah, and
So-
I don't see the collegiate level having my interactions so far. They don't have the foresight to see what's going to happen and how to continually grow. Potentially now it's just a money grab. So they're like, well, it's popular, let's just do it, and
Exactly.
get whatever money they get out of it. It could be good because it'll introduce more people to the gaming world.
Sure.
But it could be very bad, like you said. It could tilt so far that the developer's like, screw this. What game do you want, Mr. College Man? You know what I'm saying? And then they'll develop for them.
Exactly.
You know.
I mean, it's funny. It's like,
Well, not to mention, how the heck are they going to have the licensing rights? They must have to purchase exclusive licensing rights from the developers
True.
to actually capitalize on it financially. Because remember, like with movies and stuff, you can't just show a movie. Technically, you're not supposed to show a movie outside of your home. You have to pay for it. Like when we do movies here, we pay for it. We pay for that licensing,
licensing fee.
right? So I wonder if the collegiate level will have to get sponsorship or consent from, let's say, the guys
That's
who did
true.
League of Legends or Dota,
I
or
imagine they would have to.
you'd imagine, right? Like Microsoft does it.
Because you get like the wrong person behind your IP nowadays, and that's a death sentence.
Yeah. So
Yep.
I'd be interested to see how they handle that.
we'll see. I'm also really glad that as mainstream as games have become, it has opened the opportunity for very biased and stupid of me, but like local tournaments.
Yeah, locals.
Like
yeah.
I never had anything like that growing up.
Yeah, they were much tougher to find.
Yes.
Yep.
And now, I mean,
What was that?
You had to travel for them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
or like
yeah,
land.
go
Well, it depends. Yeah, if tournaments or like lands. Yeah, that lands were more common for me, but tournaments
Yeah, I
were
did
very
some lands. Yeah.
were much harder to find.
but at least I grew up in Orlando, which you would figure would be easier. But I moved to Wellington like I was like 10, 12 or something. That might have been the age that I would try to look for this stuff, and I couldn't find anything. It was just it was a dead spot for me. I couldn't, but once I started going to Florida Atlantic University, people are playing Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and Smash Brothers Melee.
Right.
And I was like, oh, so there's other people who play video games.
Yeah,
This is actually a thing. Oh, okay.
that's true. It's become much more mainstream.
Yeah, so that I do appreciate that that I can just play with other people more easily.
Right.
I guess right now there's a really good balance, but I am scared of how that balance could shift in the future.
Yeah.
Right now I think it's okay. I think it's about as good as it's gonna be right now.
Yeah.
I'd like it to be better, but
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, because right now you have gamers that are voicing their concerns and their problems with certain game companies and developers with their wallets. Like, if you put out a bad product, don't expect us to buy it. Like, we'll make sure that your game gets no sales.
What
Yeah.
what was that thing? What was the Battlefield game that took place in World War II?
Battlefield 5.
Battlefield 5?
Yeah.
I believe shortly after the E3 presentation, there was this infamous interview or a post on Twitter or something where he's like, oh, if you don't like it, don't buy the game.
Yeah. Antagonizing your fans.
Yeah, and then what happened? It's like, oh,
They didn't buy it.
what a mystery.
Nobody touched
Was
it.
that
then-
the one where everyone was complaining because like the characters didn't have like historically accurate
It
stuff?
was like
for the time?
futuristic,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it's like
That was weird. Like, what,
it's like Germany 1939 and a guy's running around with an STG 44. It's like, well, the gun is the year 44. It's 1939.
Yeah.
Something like that. You
There's
know what I mean?
stuff like that. One
The
of
future.
One of the bigger ones is, I believe there was a character who was missing a leg and
Yes.
had a prosthetic.
That's what I was thinking of. The
That was
woman, right?
Battlefield 1.
No.
it
It
was
was in the
five.
new
Oh,
movie.
it
It
was
was in the
five.
new movie.
Oh, okay.
Or the new game. The new game.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, everyone was like, we can understand you're trying to do this balance between fantastical and historical, you know? But at what point does it go too far?
Yeah.
At what point is it no longer believable? I didn't play Battlefield 5. I don't really care. But
I did.
Same.
If there was
But,
a realistic like shooter game, like realistic, everyone would hate it because it'd be incredibly boring.
sure, and that's why I say there has to be a balance.
Sitting in a hole for hours, occasionally you stick the gun over the top.
Well, there's a game called Verdun that's like that on Steam.
really?
Where it's like a super
World War One, yeah.
It's
That,
much more closer to realistic World War One.
you never see what kills you, that kind of thing. Yeah.
It just happens.
I watched a friend play it, and I don't know anything about the game, but I was impressed that he was getting kills. And I'm like, what are you shooting at? It's just dots on the horizon, and he has like a rifle, and he's making it work. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh my god.
So it's cool, but obviously that's a niche game.
Right.
That's not gonna reach a real audience, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can understand why people get upset at Battlefield 5 because there has to be that balance between realistic and ridiculous. And for a lot of fans, they went a little too far in one way. And yeah, they antagonized the fan base. They were so cocky and they were so confident. And what happened? It's like, oh,
30 days later, the game's selling for half off.
yeah. So how could it be?
$60 game, 30 days later, all right, we're selling it for $30 because they realized, yeah, we messed up.
Yeah, I forgot about
And
that.
then I remember the person that made that comment resigned.
Good. Good.
As they should.
As
What?
they should. Yeah.
What's our next topic?
Our next topic. Wow, Google Docs could load faster. What are some of the things that is slept on this generation that was appreciated back in the past?
That is, what was the first that was slept on?
Yeah, like something that you missed or that was missed about.
That was missed about it?
Like what's slept on this generation, right?
Yes.
That we appreciated back then. I'll take point on this one.
yeah.
I would say the fact that full games and the fact that multiplayer games having split screen and couch co-op, like I appreciate that more, and that's completely slept on this generation because now everything is online.
Yeah, I would
I
actually
would
agree with that.
I would say the only company that's still doing that to some degree is Nintendo, because at least with their Mario games, you're able to still play with people next to you.
Yeah.
Compared to PlayStation and Xbox, it's like, oh well, majority of it's online.
Did Gears of War did a split screen or no?
They did.
Yeah.
The recent one?
Yeah,
I
they
don't know
still,
about the
they still,
recent.
they still do.
They still do? Oh, that's
Okay.
I
good.
thought they did it. I saw it.
It's still a pain in the butt, honestly, just because you have a very good portion of your screen other perspectives.
Of course, sure.
But it's a classic feeling.
That's the sacrifice you have to accept with split screen, obviously. But I always appreciate when the option's there. And it sucks that it's so. You still have certain games that are pushing for it, like usually smaller indie games, like the recent Ninja Turtles beat 'em up game.
Yeah, the
that's-
Shredder's Revenge one.
Shredder's Revenge, local multiplayer.
That's true.
The run and gun shooter game Cuphead, that's more recent-ish, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
You have like local stuff like that, and of course every fighting game, obviously by its very nature.
Yep.
But yeah, like, uh, is there even split screen in Call of Duty these days? I would hope.
I don't know.
I don't think so.
There was in the PS3 era, but
Yeah.
And the
I know,
Xbox
yeah.
360.
And I remember going over to a friend's house, and the four of us were just playing Call of Duty split screen. You know, obviously it's not ideal. You would prefer to have like a full screen, but it's convenient to just everyone gather together and have fun like that. I like having the option. I think it's. I know it's not easy because the system is essentially replicating the game 4 times. You know, it's never easy to do split screen. You know, 2-player, let alone 4-player. But you can't tell me you can't.
GoldenEye used to chug on those 4-player maps.
Right? Yeah. But you're telling me you can't figure out how to make it work nowadays?
Yeah.
Are we not getting more powerful consoles?
I think the logic is probably just we're gonna make all of our money in DLCs and pre-orders.
Of course.
Yeah.
So it's like the amount of people that this is gonna actually like bring to the table is like, could we just save a couple, $100,000 by like not developing this aspect?
That's the unfortunate part. It goes
Yeah.
back to
It
like
bites.
it goes back to that balance of like the people who actually buy the game and people in general. And it's like most people probably aren't going to care about this aspect, but I just
Yeah, looking back at it
It's
now,
hard.
it's like I do appreciate that. I do appreciate playing games offline because
Yeah.
every game, even single player games, requires an online connection. I'm like, this is a single player game.
Like how?
Yeah.
Why?
Like,
Why do I need to
Collecting data.
yeah.
Yeah.
It can be clever in a way. I like how Dark Souls does the messages thing, That's cool. But, and at least with Dark Souls, it's like, if you just unplug the Ethernet connection, it's not going to bug you. That's it. We're
Yeah.
good.
Elden Ring
But-
has an offline mode.
Yeah, and now with the recent Dark Souls games, you can just toggle offline.
Yeah.
And that's it. But I know what you're saying. It's ridiculous. You have to sign a freaking EULA
Yeah.
for a single player game.
Yeah.
It's like
Why?
Well, I think the thing that's being slept on, we're all kind of like skirting around it, it's patience.
Yes.
Patience is gone. Back then, we didn't have a choice. We had to remain patient. Like if something was lagging or was chugging along, you okay, well, I guess I'm going to take the trash out now because this is going to take, the load screen is going to take 30 minutes, or whatever it was.
That's fair.
So patience, I see now with the new generation here, or even the real young generation here, it's instant gratification immediately.
Yep.
And if it's not fast enough, it needs to be faster. It's kind of like an engine that's moving too quickly for too long. What happens to it? It seizes up. It seizes up and it stops. And then I would say alongside patience, the other thing that is slept on today is the need, the being okay with having the intangible. Like you technically don't own any of this. Like your
Yeah.
digital downloads. But I've been seeing a resurgence. It sounds stupid, but in the DVD world, like the tangible VHS and DVD world, there's a resurgence now that people are now hunting for these things now. And to me, I always ask the question, if you let the gatekeeper have everything, they could just flick that switch off. I mean, like,
Yeah.
no soup for you,
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like the freaking, what is it? The personal credit score system that China runs on you.
Oh, sure.
the
For
social
its citizens.
score.
Yeah, the social score.
I remember.
Hey, you're not good enough to play Guilty Gear. No Guilty Gear for you.
Yeah.
Shut it off. Feel like you're banned from
Yeah.
it. But anyways, those are like patience, and then the intangible, and then the after the result of what could happen with having the intangible. Like that's concerning. But Nintendo's done an interesting thing with it, with the cartridges and stuff, because it's small enough to keep. But you
Yeah.
still have to download DLC with Nintendo?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't checked in a while. I know you can get extra like Mario Kart tracks and cars and crap.
Every
like that.
game's got its thing,
Yeah.
They just wanted to bring it back up.
Yeah, but this could all go away if we have that metaverse thing take off or whatever. or what do they call it? The Oasis in Ready Player One?
Oh, that.
Man, that's a long way from Ready Player One.
Well, I'm saying if it came around, if
Matrix has a higher
it came
chance.
around, we're screwed. If the society as a whole is going to collapse in on itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember in that movie they're all like living in hell.
Yeah, it's a wasteland.
It looks even worse. It looks even
the real
worse.
world is like hell. It's like trailers on top of trailers.
Yeah.
They're not even. No building regulations.
It's just
no
like
nothing.
a small apartment that looks like a cargo box
Yeah.
or like a cargo shipping container.
But I guess you don't need a real house when you have the VR.
Yeah.
I had to
Basically.
sleep.
I guess, yeah, but then you're. I don't know. It could be really bad, really quickly,
Yeah.
horribly.
Oh God.
When you're talking about like lack of patience, I don't disagree.
Yeah.
Especially like back then, like certain games will just take forever to load.
Yeah, I remember Metal Gear. When I played through Metal Gear the
Oh,
first
sure,
time,
yeah.
it was the load screen was horrible. Like on certain things. I guess I had the first version of PlayStation and didn't like that one too much. And it was just horrible on it. But
Well,
yes.
Even Metal Gear Solid 4 on the PlayStation 3, the way they designed it was bizarre. There were 5 chapters, and in between chapters, it would unload the previous chapter and install the next chapter.
Whoa.
And it had
I
to
didn't
do
know
this.
that.
It had to do this every time you played through the whole game.
How long would an install
Like
take?
20, 30 minutes. It was ridiculous. It was insane.
But you were cool with it.
I mean,
You had to be.
I didn't have a choice, and at the time, I mean, to be fair, even like Metal Gear Solid 4 is a very good-looking game.
Yes, it is.
So I'm waiting this load time for like, oh, this spectacular experience, and the game falls apart like halfway through and towards the ending and whatever. But the first half is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'll take it. Now, so all that being said, the way I like to look at it is we're figuring out the kinks. You know,
Yeah.
this is going to get better as we go along. Now that we're in the future, doesn't really feel like it, but okay. It feels like there are still these bumps in the road, but like they feel artificial.
Yeah.
Like they're being put in there for reasons that don't make sense.
That
I
you
can
have to pay
understand-
It's like
for-
capping the internet speed.
Yeah, stuff like that. I can understand a game taking a long time to load if it looks beautiful, but like now you have games that look worse than Metal Gear Solid 4 on the PS3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then it's still taking like just as long to load.
But what's happening
like-
is this whole conditioning. You got to condition your population in order to control them. So, like, you condition a population well enough, you can force it to do anything you want.
Yeah, because then the next game comes out, it's like, oh, but it looks better than the previous
Exactly.
one.
But then when you start looking at games like Fortnite, when it's like really like it's okay, but when you start really looking at it, it's really nothing fancy.
No.
But
Yeah.
it's just like fast. It's like having a seizure.
Well,
like
where games like Fortnite have an advantage is they're not going for realism.
exactly. Yeah.
It's you can save yourself. You can basically future-proof your game by going for a certain aesthetic
right.
that is never trying to look realistic. Because there are games that are 20 years old that look like in terms
that they
of their
went for realism
they
and it
didn't
looked rough.
they look terrible. But then
Yeah.
there are games that are old that like went for a certain style. Like the one I always go to is like Jet Set Radio.
oh,
Jet Set
sure.
Radio is
Yeah.
old as dirt, and it's a very simple game, but it looks awesome now as it did then because they went for a particular style.
Especially
they didn't
the,
try
uh,
they didn't try to do the bleeding edge.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, did you see the predecessor or the new one that's coming out? Bomb City? Or
There's
Bomb-
another Jet
Yeah,
Set
Yeah.
Radio
well,
coming out.
Bombshell City?
It's not specifically, it's not made by Sega or anything, but it's clearly fans that are going for an extremely similar aesthetic,
Yeah.
which is fantastic. Like it's taken too long. I've always complained often of like I like Paper Mario,
Yeah.
and I've always found it so bizarre that no one ever tried to make their own. Because after the first 2 Paper Mario games, Thousand Year Door, Nintendo went like a different direction. And Super Paper Mario was like very weird and very different. And Color Splash and Sticker Star were like, like what the hell? And it's like there are indie devs that can do this. And then finally they make Bug Fables. And Bug Fables is a fantastic Paper Mario ripoff. It's extremely good. So yeah, like the fact that fans are making a Jet Set Radio game.
Oh, Bomb Rush City. Or
That sounds
Bomb Rush
familiar.
Cyberpunk.
That sounds familiar. Yeah, Bomb something I know. Yeah, I wish more fans would. Oh, another example. God, what's that game? Something Ritual of the Night. It's a Castlevania ripoff.
Why do I feel like?
No, no.
Oh, Bloodstained.
Bloodstained, yes, Bloodstained.
The girl had some thick thighs.
You were an episode late.
They know it sells. It is what it
You
is.
are one episode late. I am so sorry. But you're right.
Are you looking it up?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, I wish I want more fans to like, ideally, good games.
I respect it.
But I wish more fans would like, take inspiration because like Konami's
yeah.
not doing anything anymore. I don't know what the hell I don't know where they went. What's going on?
Yeah.
But yeah, I want more fans to do stuff. I guess that's another way to put it. I feel like I took these companies for granted. I felt like Mega Man would just go on forever. I felt like Castlevania, they would always make Castlevania games. In a way, they're still making Mega Man, but like Castlevania's over.
Yeah.
At least for now.
That's still something.
They're still doing Legend of Zelda because that sells.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're still doing Zelda, thankfully.
does.
Where's F-Zero?
We've never really like gone
Yeah.
into that question.
Or even better, Metroid Prime 4. Where Nintendo? Where is it? Where is Metroid Prime 4?
I mean, they're working on it, supposedly.
It's been years.
It has been a long time
Metro
since they've said
Prime.
anything.
Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah. I don't know. I want a new Punch Out. I think it's time for a new Punch Out, But
I want to Parappa the Rappa song.
well, we could have that too. Honestly, they only made like three. They
yeah.
only made 3 of those games. The first 2 Parappa Rappas and Jammer Lammy. We can
But
have,
those games wouldn't sell today. Like, I mean, they wouldn't sell as well.
No, they
you're
were.
not wrong.
So they want money. All points back to the money.
But can't they just like make a small team,
No.
low budget?
They all got to focus on the new Zelda. When you start,
You're not wrong.
When you start watching I've been have you guys ever heard of the guy like on YouTube like Gamer Historian?
Oh,
Yes.
he's fantastic.
So I've been watching his videos
Yeah.
on production of like some of the stupidest games, but I'm like, it took like 7 years to complete this game, and I'm like,
Yeah.
this is a long and millions of dollars, and they didn't think they were gonna do it.
Everything's so expensive now. It takes so long.
And everybody wants. Think about it. These guys, there's a great documentary called Indie Game, and it's about a couple of games called Fez and
Oh,
Super Meat Boy.
I did watch this.
And a
yeah.
couple of those games. Look, you have 2 dudes or one working on a game for years, and they sell it and they make good money on it because their development team is small. But some of these larger games, you got developers that want, and these guys are not even getting paid. They're not even paying themselves.
And then it's just like what the creator wants is not necessarily what the publishers want.
Exactly.
And all the other moneyed interest and things like, well, I have this very specific idea for a game. I'm like, well, we need to move X number of copies to even pay for the box this is going to go in.
I've seen that translated. Like Jake did an interesting video with a couple guys from Final Fantasy one time, and he talked about like they really held fast to like their vision. Like the main guy, like if you look at any of what's his name from like Metal Gear and stuff like that, like but the
Hideo
first,
Kojima.
yeah,
Yeah.
you look at his stuff, like you can tell he has control.
He's a rare case, though.
Yeah.
He's able to sell weird-ass projects purely on his name.
Yeah, but I'm saying his name is so powerful, he has like directive control.
Yeah.
He can say, no, it's going to be like this, and this is how it's going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, you're
it's-
delivering packages in the future.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to do for the game.
Yeah,
you know,
but-
like,
but that's
the whole game, like.
But like I said, he's like an outlier. There's like maybe I can't even like think of a few other people that
There's
have
not
that
that
kind of
many.
ability.
Exactly, because he has a history, he has a track record, of that.
Just he. I mean, I don't even want to be like I don't want to be rude to the guy, but it's like he really did get lucky with a couple
He
games.
did, he did.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Yeah. There's no way he expected it to be that big of a hit.
Yeah.
It just happened.
It was a watershed game, and like it's been riding that ever since.
Well, once Metal Gear was out, once Metal Gear was like released, he stepped away from the projects too. They had a separate development team to handle like the PSP versions of Metal Gear. And
Oh
other
yeah,
development
portable
teams.
ops. I don't think he had anything to do with.
He had a couple, but yes, but that's my example. Like, if they had more care of like, okay, what's your creative vision? It's like going to like, it's like think of like a really great director. Like let's say George Lucas, right? Being like, let's say for whatever he is, saying no, we're going to change it. We're going to do what we want.
Well, that's always the case of art through adversity.
Right.
Is like Lucas had a lot of great ideas.
Right.
Back in the 70s and 80s.
Exactly.
And you couldn't do what he wanted to do back then, so
Right.
you had to compromise. And then it was, okay, what is actually possible? And then you see what he has done when he has full control and can do anything he wants, and it's bad.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like sometimes it's the age-old thing of art through adversity. You know what I mean?
True. And he's also creating movies for children today, and they're not kids today. and the adults want the movie they had back in the, so
Yeah,
it's like this whole
yeah.
disconnection.
It's a
Yeah.
interesting loop.
Yeah.
Something that I also feel like that slept on this generation that we appreciated back then was the fact that we didn't have money to buy certain games. Because now, as we're older, hey, we have a lot of money to buy as many games as
So
we
people
want.
think
The
they have all
quotation,
this
the
money.
quotation marks adult money.
But we have adult money, but the downside to the fact that you don't have enough time.
Yes.
Of course.
Or you negate, like, I've really been struggling with this being where we're at age-wise, where it's like here, for instance, today, like I wanted to do something that I wanted to do, but I couldn't because I had to fix this or take care of this bill or whatever. And it's funny when you start reaching this age. I don't know about you guys, but it's like you have to make that adult. Let me phrase that. You don't have to make the adult choice,
You don't,
or your
you
life
pay
is
for
going to
later.
suck. It's going to suck a lot, and that's going to be real. That's going to be a real give and take with our generations behind us, where they just want to entertain, and they don't want to hustle and grind now. But I want to hustle and grind now so that when I'm 50 or 60 years old, I don't have to work at the Piggly Wiggly bagging groceries because I didn't do it now.
Yeah.
So there could be consequences, based on, like you said, with time. And then, it's just crazy, man. Time's everything.
Yeah, because I know some of us have like backlogs of games that we bought during sales and we just never touched it.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah,
attacked.
or Gundam or whatever your hobby is.
I make time for Gundam.
Yeah, I know you do. You do make time. You are dedicated to that craft. You do make time.
Yeah,
that is true.
When I was younger, I have the money now, but back then, I get like 2, maybe 3 games a year.
Yeah, same.
And I'm gonna play the same game like 10 times over and over again. That's all I got.
It was the same
Yeah.
with me.
And I was happy with it.
Yeah. Or I was thinking of the same thing with like the Game Flies or the Blockbuster of the day, where
Oh,
you
sure.
could borrow
I
them.
rented a
remember that.
lot of games.
I could
Me
afford a couple dollars to rent the game for a week and get through as much as I could get through, and then whatever.
Yep.
I think for me, what really revolutionized that when you figured out how to burn games on the playable discs for the PlayStation, that revolutionized everything. Then when Dreamcast came out, well, that was an open door.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the,
Oh,
yeah.
the GD-ROM got cracked immediately.
Oh gosh.
Or you
That
would
was
borrow.
unfortunate
Now
for them.
now today too, like it seems that the generations are very much more like, oh, it's mine, don't touch it. Back in the day, man, I would bring my whole PlayStation in a box and let Bob use it for the weekend. You know what I'm saying? Hey, man, he doesn't have it. That's how I played through the first Halo. I didn't have an Xbox, and one of my buddies did, and he let me borrow it, and I played through it and I beat it. And that's the only way I could do it. I knew my parents were going to buy another one.
Yeah, well, that's what I was gonna say. I wonder if part of that is because you're a kid, you didn't buy it yourself.
I couldn't afford it.
Of course, but you value it to a certain extent where it's like, oh, I love my Xbox, but you don't really understand the value of money. You just say like, oh, if something goes wrong, my parents will buy a new one.
Yeah, that's true, because
And that's whatever.
today's kids have a much more grasp on what they think is value,
Exactly.
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
that's our reality.
I can understand a little bit more nowadays where even myself, like I'd be more reluctant to let someone borrow my PS5.
Dude, yeah, I mean, me, man, I F it, bro. You want to borrow my car? I don't. Here's the keys. I don't really.
Things
give
are a lot easier
I
to
don't really
break
give a crap.
nowadays, too, though.
A lot of things need to be. The way I kind of roll into it is like, with the machines, it's a great thing. With the arcade machines, I was just talking about this today. People ask me, well, why would you allow kids to play on a 40-year-old machine? I said, because it's simple to fix. Anything electronic or mechanical can be easily fixed. It's not a big deal for me.
I know
what I'm
the.
saying? That's how I look at it.
I know the racing machine keeps breaking, which is a terrible.
Yeah,
thing.
because
That's the one that probably takes the most punishment.
Because the thing is, it's a prototype that I'm experimenting with to see if it's functional. But they just keep putting too much stress on it.
Yeah.
So not to bore you with details, but I'm trying to get like original pedals to work with an emulated system, which is very difficult to get the pots to recognize the right pressure and tension to run correctly.
'Cause it's just like a little strip of magnet, isn't it?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a petrometer or whatever it's
Yeah,
called.
I had to mess with one when I was working on my go-kart. That's a pain
Yeah.
in the ass.
So that's what I'm currently experimenting with. But yeah, I don't know. Today today also like you said, it's things are expensive or perceived value, and then back then, man, I didn't care. Also, I mean, I still remember the first television I played on was a 12-inch black and white tube TV that I had in my room.
Oh, wow.
That my aunt got me.
Did it have the wood panels on it?
No. It was like the plastic one, like the carrier
Okay.
ones, like the small
Oh,
ones.
those things
That's
are
what she
cool.
got me. That my aunt got it for me, and that's all I had. I remember I had to play PlayStation in my parents' room because that was where the only TV was. Nowadays, everybody got a TV on everything.
Yeah.
Kids don't know how good they got it.
No, bro, freaking spoiled.
And another thing that kids got better, this gen than last gen that we appreciate, but you don't see it anymore. And I'll mention this before we move on to our next topic. Is when was the last time have y'all seen anyone say, "Hey, you want to borrow a game? I'll let you borrow this game."
I get asked that all the time here at the arcade. Oh, do you have this disc I can borrow? And I'm like, yeah, I do, but do you have the system to play it?
I loaned a guy a copy of Xenosaga 3 15 years ago, and I never got it back, and now it's worth hundreds of dollars.
I had.
I am not happy about that.
I'll show you how much I don't care about those discs. So when we had Star Wars Day, we had received a bunch of games from people. Right? No, a printer. I had gotten a printer from an auction. Right?
Oh,
like
wow.
A printer. It had a disc inside the installation disc that was some rare game worth hundreds of dollars. Right? Some really weird game. Rare game. The Star Wars guys that were here for Star Wars Day saw it. And he's like, did you know that game was like worth like $150? And I'm like, do you want it? He's like, yeah, I want it. I'm like, okay, go for it. Because like to me, I'm never going to get to it and people think they're going to sell it, And I'm like, F this. I could die tomorrow.
It's a lot of work.
I could die tomorrow. Like, you're going to get more joy out of it than I am.
A lot of the video game market is speculation. I don't know
Ex-
if there's actually people out there buying some of this stuff.
Exactly.
That's what I think,
and,
yeah.
exactly. And it's like, it breaks, okay, whatever. Yeah, you paid. Well, no, let me phrase that. What if they didn't buy the physical disc? They have a digital download.
Yeah.
How would they even share that?
No, you can't.
You can't. I mean, there's ways
Not
to
really.
like duplicate
There's methods.
accounts, but
Yeah, there's no way to trade games, borrow games from people now because everyone either has their own or it's just all digital.
yeah, it's all digital or it's mobile or whatever.
I just
And
remember
that was something that I appreciated back then. It's just like you don't see that as much anymore. or
Totally.
barely anymore. It's just like, man, y'all don't know because the young kids do not know that because that's how some of us were as we were growing up. We got to experience so many different games because if you knew a buddy down the street that had a game that looked interesting, like, hey, I'll let you borrow this game if I can borrow your game.
Yeah.
And you would do the trade.
No, that was common.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or I would mail it to my friends. Like I had friends that I met in camp or whatever. They live in another state. I would just mail it to them, and eventually get it back. Or if I didn't, I don't even remember.
Oh my god, I got a message from one of my friends. I just remembered I gave him a bunch of like Xbox 360s games like 6 years ago. I'm just like, I don't think there's anything valuable, but I just remembered this all of a sudden.
See, and I think that's the thing. Perceived value, like you said, Ben. Perceived value.
Yeah, no one out there is actually buying a copy of Xenosaga 3 for some $100.
No, I do not think
I
so.
like the game, but it ain't that good.
Yeah.
When I was in like elementary school, middle school, I distinctly remember trading Game Boy and N64 games a lot.
Yeah.
Same.
I remember that.
I never did, sadly.
Just like, oh, I have Forsaken 64. You have, I remember I borrowed Robotron 64. And we traded it. I got sick of it. He got sick of it. We traded it back. That was it. I distinctly remember trading Kirby's Dream Land for my friend's Kirby's Pinball Land.
For the Game Boy.
For the Game Boy, yeah. That was cool.
Kirby's Pinball is a good game.
It's a cool game.
Is that?
It's surprisingly cool. Yeah.
I have it if you want to borrow it.
A lot of the Game Boy
Touche.
pinball games are very good. The
You can do a
Pokemon
Game
one
Boy.
was really good.
Oh
too.
yeah, the Pokemon one
Wait,
definitely.
Game
good.
Boy?
Yeah, you need a Game Boy to play it.
Like Game Boy Color or Game Boy?
No, it's like a Game Boy game, like the regular original one.
Oh, sweet, I have one, actually.
I'll also say, just as a dumb little, you were talking about like mailing games to
Yeah.
friends. I have a couple of buddies that we just found each other through YouTube channels, and we became very close friends. And they live they live in
Nice.
Canada.
The Advanced, yeah. It would
Wait,
play
let me hold that.
Oh, it's the Game Boy Color.
the Game Boy Color.
Yeah, I remember that one
You
time.
don't play the original games.
Wow.
No, they will.
Yeah.
No, they'll play the original. Yeah.
It'll skew it, won't it? It'll
Wow.
skew it, won't it?
I think for the Game Boy
Let me
Color.
see it. It will skew
Wow.
it.
I think the Game Boy Color is
Such a
Oh, no, it's the
difference.
actual size, the actual game.
The aspect ratio is fine.
Yeah, because it's
If it was the
4x3.
It'll actually
If it was a
add.
Game Boy Advance,
It'll
it was-
add
Yeah, I
limited
keep it
color
with me
to
now
older
at all
games
times.
too.
Yeah.
You never know.
Looking at that.
Wait, look, I gotta show it to the camera.
Yeah, sure.
People, this
That's what we had.
Yes.
That's what we had to work
for
with.
mobile gaming.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
you're
before phones.
let me see it.
Yeah,
Was it
this.
backlit? No, it wasn't backlit.
That one's
right?
not. No.
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 It wasn't backlit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it
You
wasn't
need
backlit.
the flashlight attachment just to
Yes, you
play
do.
those
And a whole
games.
pack of batteries.
They had a version of the Game Boy Pocket that had.
You know, I never
backlight
changed the
on it.
batteries.
I
of this, now
believe
think
that
about
one
it.
was Japan
got
only.
Japan only, yeah. I had a Pocket for the longest time.
Well, in today's like, if you want also, there's like a lot of free options for games like that I've been experimenting with.
Yeah.
Like I keep telling people, the library. I mean, they have so many games there right now, like stupid amounts of stuff that you don't need to spend money on it if you don't want to. You know,
just borrow it from
And
their
they have
public
PS5
library.
games there. I was looking at the PS4s. Like they have a lot of stuff, all the way down to like the Wii.
if you're into classic games too, you have services like for the PC like GOG.
Yeah.
where you can get like
Good Old Games is fantastic.
tons and tons of old games for dirt cheap.
Super cheap. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like unlike a lot of the online services, those ones it's on your PC. So if GOG ever goes out of business, you don't lose access to them.
That's interesting. I haven't looked into
Unlike
that.
Steam.
It's called GOG.
Yeah.
GOG.
Good old
GOG.
games.
Good old games.
GOG.
So they have like stuff like all the like the freaking red alert stuff. And, like,
I'm
all
talking
that
like
stuff.
old
like number munchers, like that kind of whole.
Well, maybe not that. Like, probably not a huge amount of educational games, but like older games
remember
like
Number
DOS
Munchers.
era, early PC era.
Okay.
A lot of
like
stuff like that.
roller coaster tycoon, stuff like that, or no?
Yeah.
Oh,
more,
wow.
Older, more retro style
Older than
games.
Holy
Yeah.
nostalgia.
Lots of stuff.
But like that era. I know
There's like
you're
newer
going
stuff
to-
too. Like I say newer, but things like System Shock 2 is on GOG, and that's like 99.
Oh wow.
So, you know, not everything's old.
There's a game on GOG that I always recommend called Nox. Nox. Super cool game. Kind of plays like a Diablo, if you know that.
Yeah, of course.
But that like top-down action RPG. But it's very story-driven, story-based, and it's just a cool action RPG. Get it for dirt cheap on GOG, and you can't find it anywhere else.
Not a
good
bad
stuff.
site.
GOG. I'll have to look into it.
Yeah, if you've never heard of it, it's a
Never heard
great
of it.
it's a great website.
It's a good way to catch up on things you might have missed back in the day.
Yeah, it's basically an alternative to Steam, or these days the Epic Game Store.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just everything's cheap there.
There's
and it just
usually,
works. and there's no DRM.
There's usually mods and fixes available on the site as well to get some of these older games to run on modern systems.
Yeah.
Because if you just go out there and get some of these older games, it can be a real treasure hunt to try and get them to run on a modern system.
Yeah.
But a lot of these games, especially like the more popular ones, the ones that had a following back in the day, people have been keeping up with doing mods and stuff for them. So like a game that's really cool that a lot of people didn't play back in the day was Arcanum.
Oh, sure.
I don't know if you guys ever played that. It's kind of like Fallout.
Okay.
But that's a game that's, was notoriously hard to run on modern systems.
Huh.
But GOG has like patches and stuff to get that to run. So cool stuff like that.
So this has been an advertisement for GOG.com.
GOG.com.
I know. I'm looking at the site right now. I'm curious.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, most people use Steam, but GOG's a really good alternative.
Or emulation.
Or of course, emulation.
Yeah, I went out of
Yeah.
the way not to get bloodstained on Steam for the kind of reasons you're talking about. Like it's like, man, Steam goes out of business in 5 years because
Yeah.
Gabe decides, he wants an extra cheeseburger and he has a heart attack. I don't know.
I mean, you know what? Honestly,
Good guy, Gabe.
Yeah, no, I think Steam's at that level where it's like quote unquote too big to fail, but you never know.
Heard that before.
Exactly. Yeah. You never know. I mean, look at how Facebook is doing lately. You know?
Well, everything has a everything has a shelf life. Like whenever people build businesses off of one social media platform, it's like that's really bad to do.
Yeah.
Because if it goes away, which eventually it will, all things do, then you're screwed.
Yeah. Before Facebook, there was MySpace, and that used to be the big thing. What happened there?
Yeah. It's pretty
Right
bad
now, everyone's jumping ship from Facebook. I guess I never used it, but that's what it seems.
Yeah.
You don't want all your eggs in one basket.
No.
You know, YouTube might not be around forever.
God
but-
willing.
God willing.
Well, I like YouTube back when YouTube first started, when the unregulated stuff was.
Oh
on there,
my
you know, like it
God,
was
the
like Wild
chaos.
West
Yeah.
floating around out there. But now it's just I don't know. It's too many ads.
Yeah.
Oh, sure, of course, but it goes back to they're trying to make money,
Yes, they are.
Ad
and
revenue.
they're always doing a. I mean, for what it's worth, at least on YouTube, like every video has an ad, but at least it's like 5 to 15 seconds, and if it goes on for too long, you skip it and that's it. I mean, I don't want to talk trash, but on Twitch, you can get like 3 minutes straight of unskippable ads, and I'm like, This is too.
There's an extension for that.
Oh,
There is.
yeah. I'm aware.
What's
I'm
our-
aware.
Waluigi, what's our next topic?
Our next topic. Da, 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 da.
Do you get like
Online gaming
revenue
experiences.
from those ads? Because if so, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're
That's
fine.
why I didn't want to talk trash, but that's how I feel.
I don't know how the
Maybe-
system works.
I mean, meh.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Say it again. What was the topic?
Online gaming experiences. Like,
The first
Interact-
time,
Yeah.
Yeah.
First time.
RuneScape.
Special
RuneScape. That was my first online.
Buying
Wow.
GF.
That was my. Now I'm obsessed with watching RuneScape videos.
they're entertaining.
With like specifically like the people who created a monetary system out of it. Have you guys ever saw those videos?
Yes.
Where they mine in this specific space to get this much ore, to get this, to turn this. This is all fake money, but then they sell their accounts,
Yeah.
you know, for stupid like real life money.
Sure.
But yeah, that was the first one for me.
For me, it was SOCOM 2 on the PlayStation 2.
Cool.
Good
That
time.
must have really lagged like, badly.
It did, but I made the best of it because at that time I didn't know anything about the internet or playing online. It was just the fact that I was hearing some people, talking, and then I had a headset. I was talking, and I was like, "Oh, this is online gaming." Oh,
Yeah, I remember that.
that was a big eye opener for me. I'm just like,
Sure.
okay. And then, of course, as time progressed, online gaming has, I would say, gotten worse,
oh, definitely.
but entertaining.
Yes.
Yeah.
It has.
Worse, but entertaining. As long as you're not doxing someone or swatting them, I'm fine with the trash talk because I also
yeah.
do trash talk as well. But yeah, as long as it doesn't go beyond outside
the game.
beyond
Outside
the game,
yeah.
outside the game, I'm fine with. it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, swatting and doxing, that's like, swatting especially, it's
It's
like, what the
scummy.
hell?
It's terrible.
Ben, what about you? Your experience online gaming?
Well, I did like online gaming, like in BattleNet, StarCraft, that kind of thing. But the first one that like really sticks out in my head is probably Final Fantasy Online, because that was the Final Fantasy's first big MMO, and I was playing on the PS2. And the thing I really liked about that, it was kind of like the internet was around, but it was before the days of where the games were like everyone knew every single little tiny thing about it.
Yeah.
And in those days too, it was like you joined that game, the server for America went online a year after Japan. So all the people in North America were playing together, and we were just trying to talk to each other and figure out how to play the game and kind of catch up. But it was like very much like a new frontier. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, wow.
like to find out things, you had to actually talk to other people in the game. And I say talk, like there wasn't like talking back and forth. It was
But it
all
was
text.
texted, yes.
Oh,
and even
wow.
then, they had a universal translator function, which is like you had a preset.
So what do on the PlayStation 2? Where you
On the
use
PlayStation
keyboard?
2, you had a keyboard
Yeah.
and a
Yeah,
mouse.
Yeah, I have
the
the key. I have the
Yeah.
keyboard. Yeah.
Yeah, eventually I started
Why?
playing it on PC, but that was another one where it was like you would be playing on near the end of the game's life, you would be playing on PS2. Then there'd be people in Japan that were on PS2, but they could also be on PC. And then there was also really late in the game, there was an Xbox 360
360,
version.
yeah.
So and everyone it was cross nation, cross server, everything like that.
Cross-plat.
But it was interesting because you still had to be able to communicate with people that did not speak your language through like this kind of janky auto-translate
yeah.
auto-translate function.
That must have been painful.
Just,
That was-
it was like a set of like 1,000 phrases. Half of them were like things in the game world, and other stuff was like
You could
follow me, let's go here, whatever.
Well, people would even like use like the things in different ways to like make jokes.
Sure. Oh
You know what I
yes,
mean?
I remember. Oh God.
Yeah.
Keep talking, but I'm trying to remember. There's one that was so stupid.
But it was there was one. It was like there was a weapon called the giant donko, and then
Oh, wow.
and then there was like a kind of skin you would get from an animal called supple skin, and it was like my giant donko has supple skin, and it's just like what the, and it's like. Everyone now that reads this game is just getting this in their own language, and it means a little bit something different to everybody. But everyone kind of got the general
everyone
gist.
kinda got it,
Everyone
yeah.
got the gist of what you were trying to say.
What?
But that was interesting, like I said, just because I feel like there's not, and like there's insular communities in gaming now, like where it's like you're into your particular thing, or some people are super into this one game, but there's not really there's not really, I don't think, a feeling of exploration and discovery in games anymore.
Not anymore.
Because the second a game comes out,
The wiki-
even if the thing is like they don't want to keep it like secret, guys crack the game, get into the code, find out everything there is to know, and then before you know it, there's a guide online of how how to specific like you talk about RuneScape. There's a people who have a system to do
Maps.
everything. And if you that game that I talk about, Final Fantasy Online, is still there now. And if you go into it, it's filled with bots that are doing stuff like that, or it's filled with people that the world seems empty, but people are still there, but they're playing it to such a level to where they're all in certain areas doing certain things. You never see them.
Oh, really?
Because everyone's off doing quests. The towns are empty and everything like that. There's no reason to be in the town anymore. You know, everyone did the story 8 years ago. You know, I would just go, like there were times I'd go into the game and I just walk around the town because I'm like, this is cool to look at. But I feel like that kind of thing is like not exist anymore. I feel like there's
It's not, yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't Star Citizen like still in is still in the beta thing, and people are still like going through that game?
That's just like it's hardly worth talking about it. Not to dismiss.
No,
Not to dismiss it.
I'm
but
just saying, like,
just because it's such a textbook case of a scam at this
Yeah,
point.
I was gonna say,
it's like
yeah.
no, I don't even think the people that are really into it are not aware that it's a scam. But at this point, they're just so committed. It's like, well, I already lost the money. I might as well.
Sunk cost fallacy.
Yeah, and then it's like the gotcha people. You know, it's like you've invested so much money, you're just gambling. It's like, okay, you just like to gamble. You know, so what? It's that's what you want to do. But like, I think anyone that was expecting Chris Roberts to actually make something out of that was kind of always going to be disappointed.
Yeah, true. So like the lack of sense of discovery has disappeared.
Well, it's like I mentioned. Like, there's some good things like where I say like the publishers have like demands. One of the demands they have is a release date. You know what I mean? And it's like they don't have like, okay, the budget's this X number of million. It's not just as long as we keep getting money, the budget keeps getting bigger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sometimes it's like finished is better than good enough is better than never finished. You know what I mean?
That's true. Next topic.
Or perfect is the enemy of good is the other one.
Oh, sure, yeah.
What are your gaming hot takes and why?
Hot takes?
Yeah, like what's your hot take?
Controversial topics. Or controversial opinion, rather.
I'm gonna let Ben go first.
Censorship is pointless because the average age of a gamer now is like what, mid-20s, early 30s anyway?
Yeah.
So why is censorship in games still a thing?
Are you
Especially
talking about like
in-
the rating
in-
system?
Just no, the rating system, yeah, but like any kind of censorship.
So a famous example would be like Devil May Cry 5, which is M-rated, right? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
100%.
think so.
And there's parts where like, so there's boss fights where you kill this monster, but the monster was fueled by one of the earlier characters, and you kill the monster and like the body of the character falls out and it's this naked girl, and she's like conveniently covered by like rays of light over her specific body parts, and they did that just for like goofy censorship. And it doesn't make sense because the game's already rated M, and like you said, the average age is like 25 to 34.
Yeah, it's
So like, what are you censoring for at this point? If the game's rated T, it's like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
It makes sense, But
I never bought the argument that video games are art. It's not art. It's trash entertainment, and I want to be entertained. Okay? If that means
Artistic trash.
No, not art. It's just trash.
Fine.
And it's meant to be consumed. Okay. When you look at like Beethoven's symphonies and everything, that wasn't art. He was commissioned by rich people to make that. He didn't
Good
make that
point.
because he wanted to. Okay? And that's the way like all this is. It's not art. It's trash. I should enjoy it. It's trash.
I respect that opinion a lot. I respect that approach a lot.
It's like sometimes I just want to see violence.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just want to see the pretty lady. Just let me do that. I'm an adult. I should be able to do that. It's like if the kid doesn't want to see it, well, why is the mom letting the kid play the thing that's rated for 21 and up?
I'm sorry. I just
Yeah,
laughed.
exactly.
I just laughed at this comment from Seared Games. He's like, I believe games are art. But
No,
I hate-
they're not.
No, he's like, but I hate art games.
Art is objectively terrible. Okay, you look at like classical art, and like you could appreciate that, but then you realize it's all made just by rich people wanting something nice to look at. Nobody made something just because they want.
Just 'cause they
and
wanted to.
The crazies that do stuff that's like interesting, if they don't make money off it because they're insane.
They steal like Banksy. They steal the art, his art.
Exactly.
They steal it and then they sell it for him. Or no, they sell it and keep the money.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
all art is like subsidized now, so it's just like money coming out of nowhere. You know what I mean? So it's like, is there actually an audience for any of this junk? No.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
It should just be entertaining. That's all. If you got a story to tell, it's fine. You know what I mean? But your goal should be: is this entertaining?
So to find your happy mix, it would be that games with a certain rating, let's say M, right? It's 18 over only. You have to prove ID to buy it, and it's whatever.
Why are you still? It's like, why are you still censoring it?
Exactly. At that point,
it's like, I know like the creators probably aren't censoring it because they want to. They're doing it because like you said,
they know they can't get
the
it.
publishers have to have this.
Yeah,
we have to sell this
criteria.
many units. If we have to put the M on it, that means they put it behind the counter, and then it won't sell that many units. You know what I mean? It's like that's the kind of stuff I hate.
It's like when you see movies that should be rated R, and they're rated PG-13,
Yeah.
and you're like, why? Why does this need to be rated PG-13?
I don't care about kids. I don't care about the elderly. I don't care. I don't care about old people's sensibilities. I don't care about the fragile minds of children. Give me what I want.
I think the issue, Ben, is that parents aren't being parents.
I didn't say it was a good take.
So companies
No, I think it's a good take.
So companies
I
are
think-
being forced to be the parental guys.
No, I agree with you there.
Yeah, good point.
Companies are being beholden to like people. Companies and creators are being beholden to people that, like I said, the audience isn't there for your thing in the first place.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay, so like when I'm playing like my R18 cell phone game, that's great, and then it gets censored because it had to be on the Apple Store, and Apple has like this weird reason they're like, oh, everything has to be this certain age or everything like that. It's like
Are you talking about that one game that?
perhaps.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
It hasn't happened yet, but I know it's coming.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is,
People data mined it, and they already found censorship files in there.
you find with the censorship thing, it's interesting. Once the general populace becomes more aware of it, especially parents and stuff, then the censorship begins to occur. One arena that I have seen a lack of that in is in the sale of manga within the United States.
But, dude,
and that's really weird because
you-
I talk to parents and I'm like, are you aware that in that manga that they're reading such and such or whatever? And they're like, oh, I didn't know that.
Are you aware, though, in all that manga, they've been censoring manga in the U.S. for over 30 years?
Yeah, so imagine if they didn't censor what they have now there. It'd be crazy. It'd be like Wild West.
See, that's
But
the
it's
thing
being
is,
sold.
I want to
No,
see
no,
that
but-
stuff.
but it's
When I
being
was a
sold
kid,
in the
I wanted
general-
to see that stuff. I wanted to see it more then.
It's being sold to the general population. So
But that's
so
it always
sorry.
goes back to the other thing, though, is like, okay, if you have a problem with that, that's where the parents should be
of
involved.
course, yeah, that's what I agree with.
And I hate
guidance.
that the nanny state is so out of control that there's nothing out there you can enjoy anymore. Everything's been watered down. Everything
Yes.
sucks because there's no edge to anything anymore.
Oh,
You know what I
don't get me
mean?
started on remix.
It's funny how
They're talking about video games, but like name a movie that like hit you as hard as like RoboCop did.
oh sure, like RoboCop when it came out, it was like so
There's
violent.
nothing that cool nowadays. There's nothing that violent. There's nothing that
Usually,
funny.
yeah, I was gonna say. Usually, if you have to go that way, it's foreign and it's very unknown.
Yeah. Well, even Paul Verhoeven, he was an American.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Foreign and it's very unknown, and you got to read it in like subtitles.
But same way with video games. Look at like the stuff like Metal Gear Solid.
Right.
Okay. Sniper Wolf.
yeah,
Super sexy, like James Bond, femme fatale, in a game that probably a lot of people are like the mom saw it. Oh, who's that chick with the giant things and the gun? And Meryl gets shot through the leg, and it's like PS1 graphics, but it's pretty violent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No,
Or
yeah,
even take it back to Mortal Kombat. When Mortal Kombat got introduced into the arcades,
yeah.
the parents didn't know what was going on.
Everyone lost.
Or Doom.
Everyone lost their mind, and it's just like you look at it now, and it's like it seems like
But the developers
it seems quaint.
But the developers back in the 80s and 90s, they even stated to the parents like, you should be parents.
Yeah.
Like, we are creating this product for adults. Don't allow your kid to play it. Don't allow your kid to be exposed to it. It's not our prerogative to restrict it.
I've always hated that people that try to like put laws in place to do their parenting and stuff.
Of course,
for them.
yeah.
Because it's just like I said, I don't like. There may be like art in video games, but it's always like a coincidence that something is artistic because the goal should be just, is it entertaining? Like the art can be in service to that, but like games as art tend to always suck because of that. You know what I mean? Because it should be entertaining. And if I want to be entertained, if the kind of thing I'm into is violence and adult themes, I mean, why? That shouldn't be a problem. You know what I mean? It shouldn't be taboo to do that. We're all adults. There's been enough. Video games have been a thing long enough to where I think the argument that like these things make people violent has been so disproven by this point. The only people that parrot it are people that just weren't ever going to read or get into the argument in the first place. They were always just going to say whatever they wanted to say because of
their mind had already been made up.
Their mind was made up before they ever saw anything, and you're never going to change that. So it's just like, why do we still take the argument seriously?
I feel you.
The only thing I care about, like as a person, like in terms of like political leaning one way or the other, is the most anti-censorship you could possibly be. I will always go down that path.
Well said.
I respect that a lot.
Yeah. Eddie, what is your gaming hot take?
The hot take, I'm still trying to grasp my mind about what exactly the hot take is.
What can be controversial?
Like, what's
Your
controversial?
controversial gaming hot take. It could be from the arcade to
Controversial
now.
Hot take, like, what do I deem as controversial?
Yeah.
What do I deem as controversial?
What do you
An
think?
opinion
what
that might get you lynched.
do you think is such an unpopular opinion you have?
Oh, the
'Cause I'm still trying to think of it as
the
well.
cost. The one thing I've been really aware of is the lack of knowledge of cost, and what I point to is arcade machines, because of the mere fact that you get, like any business, you get suggestions.
Yeah.
Oh, you should have this. You should have
sure,
this. You should have
of
this. At first, it would bug the heck out of me because I'm like, do you realize that game's like $12,000, you know?
Yeah.
And it would bug the heck out of me. Now, I'm
What do you mean
more.
you don't have a Polybius cabinet?
I have a system. I have a system where I send them. So when someone happened a couple of days ago, sent me the new Time Crisis game that's out. And I
new
put-
one?
Time
yeah,
Crisis 5.
whatever the new one is.
One of the last ones that actually gets people into
And,
it.
and
those big arcades.
they said, "Oh, you should have this." And I said, "Okay." I was like, "I really appreciate the suggestion. Thank you so much." And I went on Google and I found it and I screenshot it. It was like 15K, and I sent them the photo of it. I said, "We take donations." Period. That's it. I said that off to them because the thing is, but once again, it's more of like, I guess that's the most controversial thing for me because it's more like. But I can't blame an individual who doesn't know the industry well enough.
Yeah.
But once again, it goes off to this ideology of the lack of understanding of money and like what it's really worth, what are things really worth, and
What's the upkeep got?
what's the upkeep gotta be? Oh, like that Dance Rush game, with the lights and things. That's a nightmare.
Because I remember that.
Oh, that looks
that's a
cool,
nightmare
but that's
to
gotta be
maintain.
hell to fix.
Oh, I've looked into it. I mean, it's like freaking $8,000, $10,000 per machine.
Jeez.
And then the maintenance alone with those sensors, you're talking crazy upkeep.
Yeah.
Is that the game where like the entire floor is like a touchpad?
Yeah, it's like a
thing?
waterfall of
it's
lights.
shuffling.
Yeah, so that's I would say my most controversial thing, and the second one was probably the lack of parental guidance within an establishment, within a business.
Oh God,
That's one thing that I've been noticing, and it's shameful because a child. I remember when I was growing up, I was my father's representative, and I misbehave. I knew what was coming when I got home. You know what I'm
Right?
saying? Like,
Yeah.
you didn't act up. You went to the barber shop. You sat in that chair. You didn't say nothing. He cuts your ear off. You just keep going. You don't cry. You don't do anything. But nowadays, unfortunately, I am being forced to parent here because of the mere fact that I'll see them doing something foolish and or could be detrimental to them, and I warn them. I say, hey, that might not be a good idea, or hey, you may want to consider. I don't try to use the word. I try not to use the word don't. I try not to use like don't do this. Rather, I propose to them what the consequence is going to be
Yeah.
if they continue on that action.
I remember that kid hanging off the sniper rifle gun the
Oh
other day.
yeah, dude,
Wait, what?
they'll hang and stuff like that, but once again, it reverts back to the ownership thing where I realize these are machines that can be fixed.
Yeah.
And if it can't be fixed, well, I'll put another one there. You know what I'm saying?
Stronger man than I. That would kill me.
I'll figure. It's taken me like 3.5 years to get to that level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I would say that was probably the most controversial thing. And last but surely not least, taking gaming way too seriously. It's just not. It's a game. Like Ben says, entertainment. It's fun. It's supposed to have fun with it. When I forget who recently posted on not our Twitter account, but on their Twitter account about someone rage quitting during a Smash Ultimate tournament. And someone commented on it. You saw that?
Yeah.
I mean, dude, that guy got up and slammed his controller down on the floor.
Yeah.
And guess what he's gonna do? When he's done, he's gonna go back to mommy and daddy and ask him, "Oh, I need another $60 Pro controller," and they're gonna buy it for him. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, bro, no. I freaking hand you a GameCube controller to go to town. Here's your GameCube. But it's crazy, bro. It's too serious. It's like taken too seriously. This is fun. It's escapism. Flynn's is an escape. This is not reality. This is an escape. Then that's what my pet peeves are. Bam.
It's a good hot take, and I definitely take this stuff way too seriously.
Wait, was
Yes.
were you the one that smashed
No,
it?
no. I've never
take it
seen.
that-
I
I don't
have
take it
never
that far.
seen an FGC player rage quit. I've seen only Smash players. I've only seen that.
I like that subtle dig that
Yeah.
Smash Brothers is not a fighting game.
In
Subtle
the community,
dig.
it's not
I
right.
like
It's
it.
not in the FGC range. It's its
It's a
own
competitive
entity.
party game.
It's its own thing. It's its own universe.
Yeah.
That's the real hot.
But no, the interesting thing is the age range
Yeah.
between those. That's really interesting. So it's a younger crowd sometimes. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And I understand think about guys when we were 13, 14 years old, and we didn't have the pressures of today's society upon our shoulders.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can understand the stress, but I just don't understand. I have a hard time fathoming now, like smashing a $60 controller on the floor or whatever, or God forbid it hits somebody.
I mean, I did that like 2 years ago with the Gundam Online game, so I can't judge too
Ben's
much.
there, but like I just don't get it, bro.
Like,
but yes,
like even me growing up, like because I would play fighting games competitively, with anybody, and when I would get mad or heated, the last thing I'm gonna think about is just like smashing my controller. If anything, I'm putting the controller down. Like I would just like put it down, get up, and I'll just like walk around, take a deep breath, or throw some air punches or whatnot.
Basically, yeah, you're
Yeah.
pacing around.
Oh,
yeah.
you saw me.
You're
You
just
saw me
trying
yesterday
to-
get my butt kicked.
Yeah.
I kind of just like unplugged, got some water, cooled off. I'm just like,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, because
It happens.
because it's like, yes, I am mad. I'm upset that I lost or whatnot, and I feel some type of way. But I'm not that mad enough to smash a controller that I'm gonna have to spend money to get another one.
well, the question that I asked, like in that particular clip, Senpai, that I saw, I asked myself, every behavior that is a negative behavior should be combated with positive reinforcement, meaning like how do you change this behavior method?
Yeah.
I wonder if that individual got spoken to about,
Yeah.
hey, how can you do this better next time? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because that's what I watch a lot of times. Not here. We're very fortunate, very blessed here. But when I watch Twitch from time to time or whatever, and I see people rage quit or get angry or whatever, and I ask themselves, who is going to correct that behavior so they do it differently next time? And I wonder, off scene, did a parent talk to them or did an older person talk? Probably not. It's unfortunate. But I've seen here at Flynn's and with our gaming stuff, I've seen you guys step up, which is admirable, where you talk to say, hey, maybe next time this is not the wisest move to do,
Sure.
Yeah.
God forbid, they hurt somebody. We saw it outside. The guy cut his hand, remember?
Yeah.
Long time ago.
Yeah, I remember
Cut
when you
his hand.
texted me this.
Yeah.
I'm like, is the guy alive?
No,
what is
a
it?
glass bottle.
Oh, man.
It was like he put it, I think he accidentally dropped it. But then when he went to go pick it up in a rush, in a hurry, it cut him or something along those lines.
yeah,
It was
that
pretty bad.
sucks.
We handled it, but thank God it wasn't any worse. And,
Yeah.
I've done that where you guys probably done that where you drop something and then you really quickly go to pick it up.
Yeah.
And you're like, sling, like cut yourself.
Oh
So-
god, the amount of blood. It's just.
But he was older and it resolved,
Yeah.
and he resolved it and everything. But
Oh, that's good. All right.
anyway, so you take it too seriously.
I mean, yeah. I get mad because I'm passionate and I mean, fighting games are hard because there's so much going on.
Oh, heck yeah.
In such a short period of time.
Heck yeah.
You just have to make a decision and commit to it, and you don't have hindsight. Afterwards, you're like, why did I do that? Like, what was
yeah.
I thinking?
me every day.
So yeah, no, I'm there too, and so yeah, I get mad at myself,
Yeah.
I wanna do better next time, but whatever. That's not my hot take.
What's your hot take?
I'd say I think modern day video game journalism and reviews are just
Out of control.
absolute trash.
Yeah.
Just garbage.
Yeah, I
Also-
agree.
I mean, the problem with like criticizing this is that criticism by its very nature is very subjective and
Correct, of
opinionated.
course, yeah, of
So what can you do?
Yeah.
But the amount of praise that games like Uncharted and Last of Us get, the fact that the Uncharted series as a whole is seen as like an incredible masterpiece, that Last of Us is on this pedestal that you cannot touch. it's almost perfect, and it's just like, are we playing the same game? Like it doesn't make sense. If you look at like Uncharted, for example, these are video games, so it's important to criticize the gameplay. Uncharted is a cover shooter, which is fine, but what is it doing that makes it stand itself out from the crowd?
Nothing.
What is it doing that is so incredible? Because the way that it's praised, the amount of awards that these games get, you'd think that they're must play.
Yeah.
That if you skip on this game, you're really missing out on something. If you can only play one game this year, it has to be this. And it's like, what is it? It's nothing. Meanwhile, you get a game like Vanquish, for example, made by Sega.
Palladium.
Which, published by Sega, made by Platinum Games.
Platinum. Why did I say palladium?
You know,
It's another metal. It's another metal. Another
Pronunciation.
precious metal.
Yeah.
And for them, I mean, Vanquish is a little all over the place. It does a lot, but if you really want to nail it down to something, you could say it's a cover shooter, you know?
Yeah.
But it does it so well.
Yeah.
And it's very creative, it's very fast paced, and it's a lot of fun. It's a little short, but I'd rather have a game that's short and fantastic.
Yeah, you could beat that game in 3 hours.
Yeah, it's super short, but I mean,
something you can remember.
yeah, and hell, just play it again.
But could it be based on money?
A lot of it is marketing.
Like what?
Yeah.
Like what? One thing I've think with reviewers is like once something happens, like a game, right? Like let's say Uncharted, right? Every top reviewer is doing the same review over and over in
Yeah.
order to get that clicks. You know what I'm saying?
know.
So
I know.
Yeah.
that's stupid. It's
100%.
they're not
And
willing to
that's-
take a chance.
That's part of my issue.
Yeah, I feel
They're
You got to make their
so
money
what's the
back.
solution?
the solution, which is never going to happen.
Yeah.
So first of all, IGN, for example, they're one of the biggest problems.
Yeah, they are.
That is what it is.
The
GameSpot's-
Ignorant Gamers Network,
Yeah.
Oh yes.
GameSpot's another one. The website.
Kotaku,
Kotaku's another one. All of these wouldn't keep doing this
Polygon.
if Polygon is bad.
Yes, it is.
Holy hell. They wouldn't keep doing this if they weren't getting traffic. All right?
Which leads to ad
So-
revenue, which leads to
Of course.
sponsors, which leads to money.
So the question becomes, who is the audience that's going to these websites? It's not people who actually care, because people like you or me or you, or you're actually.
Would never go to one of those sites. Never.
If you want an opinion on a game, either you play yourself, you talk to a friend that you know and you trust, or you go to a wide variety of websites and you do general research and figure it out. You know.
Right, of course.
But we're not going to these kind of websites. Who are the people who are going to these websites? They're the people who don't really play video games, who aren't like really big into it.
They're like tourists.
They're tourists.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they buy like 1 or 2 games a year. They're the people who buy Madden and Call of Duty every single year. And they'll buy one other game.
Yeah.
What's the one game they're going to get? I don't know. IGN says it's the game of the year. All right, I guess I'll get that one. And that's
Yeah.
it.
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
These
what do I
are the
play?
people who don't even read the review. They just scroll all the way down to the bottom. And it's like, oh, 9 out of 10? Must be good, you know?
High Metacritic score.
High Metacritic score. And honestly,
They rush. Sorry to cut
No,
you
go
off.
ahead, go ahead.
But they rush the review process. Like they'll completely rush through the game and be like, yeah, and then just come off as if like they played hours of the game and they played on the very easy difficulty, so that way they could just get through it in a timely manner. So that way they can get it out there, get as much clicks and traffic.
attention.
Yeah, get as much attention as possible within a short amount of time.
And don't get me wrong, I understand why they do that.
Yeah.
Because it's this stupid rat race
Yes,
to
it
be
is.
first,
Yep.
you know? Because that will get you more attention.
Yeah, and then now the gaming companies are releasing more of those download codes or whatever they
Review
are.
copies.
Review
Yeah,
copies,
they're
sure.
releasing so many. If they would just
If
pedal
they-
backwards.
If they review the game positively or
They'll get more.
biasly, they'll get more review
Yeah.
copies. So they have to,
Yeah.
in a way, lie about how good the game is until when people play and be like, "Yo, this game's trash."
Yeah. If you don't say it's good, you won't get the next one.
Yeah,
I've told this story several times. I might have told it on the previous podcast. I don't mean to reiterate, but
They're fun.
one of my favorite video game magazines back in the day was Electronic Gaming Monthly.
Of course.
And obviously I don't know anyone
Which
there.
EA bought Midway.
What was
EA bought Midway Games. Like it was like
yeah.
back in the
Electronic
day.
Arts.
Yeah.
All right.
when it disappeared. So at least they have a cool history.
Well, so I don't know, obviously, anyone personally from the magazine. For all I know, they're all lying. Whatever. But I want to believe what the story they're telling.
Of course, yeah.
So, EGM, Electronic Gaming Monthly, the editor-in-chief at the time when I read, Dan Shu, he explained that they gave really poor scores for a lot of Midway games, Mortal Kombat,
Look at that.
some of their sports games, the older ones.
Yeah, look at that. Yeah.
Recent Mortal Kombat games are decent. It's fine, But the older ones, most famously, Mortal Kombat for Game Boy Advance, one of the few games they gave a 0 out of 10. It was horrendous. Midway came back to them and said, hey, if you don't start changing your attitude on our games, we're going to pull our advertisements from you.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's fine. We're going to keep doing what we want to do. That gave me a lot of, an immense amount of respect for EGM.
Yeah.
Same exact thing happened with Ubisoft. They put online, because EGM, they always had 3 different people review every game,
Oh, cool.
which was really cool for them. They put online their first review for the first Assassin's Creed. The guy gave it a 6 out of 10. And apparently Ubisoft was furious.
Right, yeah, because they like crucified him.
Yeah.
Most
They're
likely.
like, how dare you? We're going to pull our score. And at the time, EGM was doing a podcast like this where they do a roundtable. And they were joking about it. And it's like, what's hilarious is Ubisoft didn't even see the score we put in the magazine. Our other guy gave it like a 4 out of 10. But they're like, we don't care. We're going to keep doing it. And it hurts, like they were saying, like it hurts us because we're a really big fan of Splinter Cell, which is another Ubisoft series. We love Splinter Cell.
That's a good game.
But if they're going to do this to us, it's like, fine. Our reviews are going to be a month late because we're not going to get it early. We're going to have to buy it ourselves from the store, That's an approach that I respect and that I wish was standard.
Yeah, it's rare.
Go figure, EGM shut down. They didn't get, they didn't get enough money. They didn't get enough attention. Who's still around? IGN is still around. GameSpot is still around. It is what it is,
All the scumbag game journalists are still around.
Yeah.
The corruption.
I hate it. I understand it, obviously. You're saying, how do you fix the problem? The problem can't be fixed because no one actually cares.
Well, now there's too many holes in the boat,
Sure.
and the boat's sinking.
Yep.
So they're just polishing brass on the sinking ship. That's all they're doing.
For me, I go to like the indie game journalists. I go to indie ones. Like one of my favorite ones is MP First. I've been following them ever since like the PS3 days. And granted, they've had like change of writers and journalists from time to time, but they've always held true to their
They have a standard.
yeah, their standard of just honest game reviews and just yeah, they're gonna give you their bias, and you'll see. And as you're reading their articles, you'll see the little bit of biases that they have, but they're gonna give you like the general, like this is what you can expect from this game.
Yep.
I don't want to hold it up, but I could tell another story that really made me hate IGN a lot and made me like look at game journalism in general as like this terrible cesspool. I believe the game was Pixel Junk Side Scroller for the PlayStation 3, smaller indie game, whatever. And I don't know if you've heard it, but there's like a long series of these Pixel Junk games. I believe the company made them called Media Molecule.
Okay.
And every game had like different genre, and they were kind of big at the time. Anyway, I digress. So, Pixel Junk Side Scroller. The reviewer went over the review. One of his main complaints was the game's really short, and he's really disappointed. He likes the series in general, but this one didn't appeal to him. The developer came back to him on Twitter and said, "Hey, reading your review, it's pretty clear you played the game on only the easiest difficulty. If you played at least on normal, you would have gotten the extended final level, the final boss. You would have seen all these other mechanics that we don't bother putting on easy and whatever stuff." And the reviewer went back to him and said, like, "Oh no, I assure you, I did play on normal. I'm usually a huge fan of your stuff, but this one didn't really gel with me." And they went back and forth, Without saying anything else, that review, like without like explaining anything, that paragraph that talked about like, oh, the game was really short and like, oh, I expected more of it, that was just gone. It was just deleted. And when the developer found out about this, it's like, hey, I like read your review. I saw you remove this section. That's extremely unprofessional. Like, why would you do that? Another back and forth.
Man, the developer said this to the guy who wrote the review.
Yeah, this is.
So he wanted it. He wanted it there.
Well, he wanted the guy to be held accountable.
Oh, I feel you. Okay.
He's like, just be honest.
Yeah.
You know, say that you only played the game on easy. Say that you missed out on these extra mechanics, because you were talking about earlier. These reviewers will play the game on easy and they'll rush through the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get a skewed view of the game at that point.
Exactly.
I'm thinking of that guy doing the first tutorial of Cuphead.
Right?
He couldn't do the jump.
Oh my God! I
But
remember that.
That's what it's come to. It's insane. So anyway,
I forgot that existed.
eventually the final version of this review reinstated the paragraph and added a sentence that said, this paragraph was originally omitted. Click here to find out why. And when the review was still newer and I was following this, I clicked on it, and it was this huge article talking about like, yes, I played the game on easy. I went through it quickly because I'm on a deadline, I have a quota, whatever stuff. But I'm keeping my opinion as it is because looking back, I still don't think it affected my opinion on the game, so on and so forth, which I think is ridiculous.
Yeah, because like reading the Spark Notes versus reading the book.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, the very last part of this saga, all right? If you go back to that review today, the review is still there as I explained it with that link. This paragraph was omitted. Click here to find out why. You click on that link, the link's dead. It doesn't go to it anymore.
This is IGN.
This is IGN. I promise you, I will. I don't want to keep holding this up. I'll show it to you
crazy.
after we're done here.
That's crazy, bro.
It's a story I always remember, always reiterate, because this is a big deal to me.
Yeah.
So that link's dead. No one remembers that anymore, really. What's stopping them from removing that sentence that says this paragraph was originally omitted? What's stopping them from removing that paragraph? No one cares. No one's going to know. No one's going to follow up.
I feel you, man.
That's the current state of video game journalism. There was the IGN review that this guy plagiarized Dead Cells.
Yeah, I heard about
that was a really big deal at the time. And everyone's like, oh, but they caught him. They did a good job. They caught that one. Why does IGN hire freelancers? Why don't they have a dedicated review crew? Electronic Gaming Monthly has a dedicated review crew. IGN only hires
cheaper.
freelancers. Of course, exactly. They only hire freelancers. That's what leads to that.
Well, you have deadlines, and if you don't meet the deadline fast enough, the way if an easy fix is saying, listen, the game's released this day, you have 60 days, then the review will be released.
Oh, you're talking
Or they-
about have a what's the term? Oh God.
A moratorium.
No. Like you're not allowed to like touch it until a certain amount of time.
Well, no, you can touch the game, but make
Well,
the
I'm talking
reviews
about
are
like
on
a
this
rev-
day.
I'm
Yeah,
talking about a review,
because then it
yeah.
would put everybody on the same play field and give people time to breathe.
There's a word for that, and
NDA.
not NDA.
I wouldn't know. Actually.
Whatever. I know
We know what we're talking about. Yes.
That would fix a lot
Embargo.
So embargo.
Yeah.
That's the
of it.
word.
Yeah,
It's
that
an
would fix a
embargo.
lot of it.
Theoretically. It would fix a lot
Theoretically,
of it,
yes.
all right?
Theoretically.
The reason why it won't really work is because, theoretically it's going to work for IGN and GameSpot and the companies, all right? It's not going to work for the little guys.
The YouTubers.
The YouTubers, who they're going to rush through the game, get the review done the first week, and then all the attention is going to go to them.
I feel
And then
you. All right,
IGN is
true.
going to turn around and be like, well, what the hell? What about us?
Yeah, true. It'd be too hard to police.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. What it's going to come down to is you're going to have to police it, and no one's going to do that.
Yeah.
No, like, you can't. Not really, If it's not going to be on YouTube, it's going to be on some other video sharing site, or it's just going to be a written article, which is fine too. You can't police it all. It's not
I
possible.
got a solution. They should just message you on Twitter, ask you for your opinion of the game, and that's it. You're
go.
good.
That's a really-
Four-Face Buttons will
that's
give his own
really
review.
correct messaging. I
We
love
just
it.
launched that today. Everybody go start messaging Four-Face Buttons. Every game, any game, He will play it.
I'll do it. I'm not against it.
Last of Us 3.
All right,
I won't do that. No.
Takapara 2.
What is it?
No, not this
No,
again.
I didn't say anything.
I do have a gaming hot take before we go on to our next topic,
Yeah,
and that
'cause
is
I know I held this up. Go ahead.
yeah, and that is that games have not gotten harder. If anything, they've gotten a lot easier.
Oh, yeah.
Because some of the games that we had to go through when we were growing up. Yes, it may sound like I'm an old guy. I am, but some of the games that we had to play back then, Lion King, one of them. Super Ghouls and Ghosts,
Jesus Christ.
Games.
Mega Man,
Stupid, ridiculous.
Metroid. I mean, there were some really, really tough games, and it's just like, if you died, that's it. You got to start all the way back at the beginning.
Oh yeah.
No, Ghouls and Ghosts is, even on the arcade version, it's a freaking quarter buncher. You know, like, you die so quickly.
I
Ninja Turtles on the NES.
Jesus.
I saw
No, there was I got another good game.
Go ahead.
Gym when I was younger.
Earthworm Jim's a hard one.
There was another one.
You
though.
can't tell the levels. Like, the
Battletoads.
Battletoads
Battletoads
ridiculous.
difficult, too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But-
The race level, no one could beat
But
that.
see, they had to rely on either storytelling through the older games,
Yeah.
or difficulty,
Yeah.
or both. You know, like, how difficult can we make this so that they cry at night? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how it is. You know,
That's
Rent
So-
it again next week, you plebe.
exactly.
So I
Exactly,
don't want to
you
hear.
suck.
So it's like
But
I
when did
don't
it
want to
get?
hear from from these casual gamers that, well, these games are too hard nowadays. They're making games too hard. It's like, no, they're, if anything, they're just easy. It's just that you suck. Get good.
No, I agree.
Get good.
The only exception is the Doom series.
No, Doom has even gotten easier. Too.
Ultra Nightmare.
Okay, Ultra Nightmare, I will give you that.
Yeah, if we're talking
I
about
have
like
PTSD from trying it out my first time.
Yeah, if we're talking
my
about
only
like
time.
the highest difficulty stuff on Doom, like that can get tough.
Oh, yeah.
that can get pretty tough. Yeah.
But back then, where there was like no easy mode that you could select, like you had to play the game as is and just be like, try to beat it, try to figure it out.
And if you didn't have a memory card, you're screwed.
Oh yeah.
Oh sure. Yeah.
You had to leave your PS2 or your PS1 on.
exactly. Run it overnight.
I can,
Turn it upside down so it cools. So
And then
it
you get
stays
home
cool.
from school, and then you find it off, and you're just like,
I have it
Oh,
in
yeah,
all the
that-
time. My mom shuts it down. Oh, your
I had to unplug
PlayStation
it to
was
plug
running.
in the vacuum cleaner.
Exactly. Or I saw it was running. What do you mean? It was. Why did you do that? You know, yeah, dude, the pain, bro. We did a run through Jedi Power Battles in 2 days.
That's a good game.
And that we did it with a buddy of mine, and for the entire weekend, and we had to leave it running the entire time.
That
That,
was
thing was
a-
so hot. The PlayStation was burning.
What was Power Battles the beat 'em up kind of game?
yeah,
Yeah.
Like,
Like,
it
one
was
of
kind of
them
like a
was
3.5D style one.
It had like platforming elements and it was like top down perspective, but it was essentially beat 'em up, right?
Yeah.
If I
Yeah, with
remember.
lightsabers and stuff. Yeah, yeah.
One of the characters was Mace Windu, the other one was Obi-Wan.
Yeah,
something like that.
well, it was Qui-Gon Jinn. It
Oh,
was Qui-Gon.
I'm sorry,
it
yeah,
was Qui-Gon
Qui-Gon
Jinn.
Jinn.
It was-
Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan, Plo Koon, and then there was one other guy.
Oh, so there were like multiple characters?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plo Koon was like the monstrous looking Jedi with the orange lightsaber.
Was there Ahsoka? Was she in it?
I don't think she was even a character yet. I don't think that Star Wars they didn't come up with her yet. I think it was Mace.
It might have been Mace Windu.
I think it was 4, and then the unlockable was Darth Maul.
oh wow.
Oh yes.
I played a lot of Power Battles.
Great game.
I
Another
played
great
it
game.
when I was younger, rented it so long ago, I hardly remember it, but
It's good.
Very good game.
when you mentioned that, it came up in my mind.
all right, Waluigi, our last topic.
Alrighty. Wait, we technically have 2 of it, but
Combine them.
What made you appreciate gaming and pet peeves?
All right, I'll start off with
Quick.
this one. What made me appreciate gaming and my pet peeves? What made me appreciate gaming is just the history of it, from dating back from the NES. I know the Atari was the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Before that.
I
One
wasn't.
before
I
that.
didn't.
Before that.
The Odyssey.
Okay, I didn't exist. I didn't exist during that time.
You're talking about like
This
the
is not a
Atari
40s plus
2600 or
podcast.
whatever it was.
All I know
The
is
Odyssey, the first home game.
I think it's probably the first
I
one.
think the Magnavox Brown box.
Yeah.
Or is
But
it
that was
the
like
Intellivision?
This is not a 50s
No,
plus
television
podcast.
Yeah,
was after.
Hold on.
And television was around the Atari 2600.
Because all those started coming out, Famicom and all those started coming out at the same time.
My brain hurts.
Yeah,
from
Famicom
knowing
was
all
after.
these-
It was like between Atari and NES.
Yeah, they
I
started
mean,
going.
NES is the American Famicom.
But for me, it was the NES. Yeah, but for me, it was the NES, and it made me appreciate, where it was from the very beginning. I got to play on the NES. That was my first gaming console, all the way up until the PS5, and I appreciate gaming. I love it, and I love the history of it, and I've got to experience so many games, and there's still more hidden gems out there that I don't know about, that I've heard about from other people or other third parties or whatnot, and I just love it. I appreciate it, and it's gonna keep going. Gaming's gonna keep going. It's gonna keep moving forward. Granted, I don't like some of the business practices that these companies are doing, and I know some of the stuff that we appreciated back then is not gonna be with us, moving forward, because hey, everyone's trying to make a buck.
Yeah.
I get it, but other than that, I
Pet
appreciate.
peeves, you said, right? Pet peeves was the other part.
Yeah, and of course, my pet peeves is DLC.
Okay.
That's it. DLC. That's my pet peeves. Just give us a full game that has like at least over 100 or 200 hours worth of content in it. End game
That disc would
content.
be huge. They'd have to hand you a hard drive.
Those are few and far between.
Plug this in.
Or at
Let's
least-
bring back the Laserdisc.
Or at least
Yeah.
or at least make games that have like very high
Replayability.
Make it like a
replayability.
choose your adventure.
Yeah.
Where every time you put it in, it's a totally different game.
Oh God.
Yeah.
You can't beat it. You got one shot or change.
for
it.
me-
You would like visual novels, Eddie.
Yeah.
Like for me, I could play Skyrim all over again because that's a game you could just keep playing over and over and over
Yeah.
again,
Oh,
and
yeah,
I'll still
I
have a really good time with the game. And it's a game that I have to force myself to stop playing because I get addicted to it. So that's it for me.
DLC.
Yeah.
I started playing games with the NES as well. I distinctly remember playing a lot of Super Mario 1. And,
I hated 3, but
yeah, right?
Revolutionary.
Everyone loves
everyone loves Super Mario
everyone loves
3, but I hate it.
I don't hate it,
It was
but
just so much it was very radically different than the other ones.
yeah.
New
Extremely.
dimensions, new everything.
I hate the cat suit. So
You don't like Doki Doki Panic?
Mario 2 is cool.
I liked Mario too.
I like Mario 2.
Yeah, Mario 2 was good.
I'm fine on Mario 3, but I actually prefer 1 and then 2 and then 3 I like the least.
Okay.
I don't know, but everyone loves 3. That's whatever. Anyway, yeah, so growing up with a NES and Super NES, and N64, I obviously loved games a lot, and I just had fun playing with them. But it wasn't until my brother wanted a PlayStation 1 really bad, and I'm just like, I don't care, it's just more games. And he got Final Fantasy 7 because he heard like a big deal about it. And when I played it, that was the first game that gave me the impression that these can be more than toys, so to speak. More than just like they are. And don't get me wrong, I'm with you. They're basically just entertainment when you get down to it. But the fact that it could tell like an interesting story,
Yeah.
and have like a variety of characters with varied motivations and development over time, and this fascinating world, and so on and so forth. Final Fantasy 7 was the first game that gave me the impression like, oh, maybe there's like something more here. Like this is interesting. And then the second game that like really just blew me away was when I played Silent Hill 2.
Yeah.
I never played another Silent Hill game before, and my brother rented it on a whim just because like, oh, this game looks weird. And I played it and I was like when I was younger, like it was scary. And it was just a beautiful looking game, and the voice acting was good, and so on and so forth. Looking back nowadays, I think the voice acting is rough, but I still love the game. I still think it's fantastic. And that game made me think like, oh, like video games can be art. That was like the impression that I got at the time, And yeah, from Silent Hill 2, I started looking into like video game magazines, like what are people saying about games? What's the discussion going on? And that just led me down the whole rabbit hole that I'm still going down today. Yeah, what was the
Your
question?
Pet
peeve.
peeves.
Pet peeve.
What do you hate? Or dislike, technically.
I'd say my number one pet peeve by far is the fact that there still isn't a controller that's 6 buttons and has a good D-pad.
Oh, you
Oh
I-
my gosh.
talking about the Sega
You would
controller?
never.
you
How would you
boomer.
control that? You'd have to put it on your lap.
I have
It's called a fight stick.
No,
No.
I use a 6-button controller.
He has a Sega
Oh, you have a
Saturn.
6. The
It's
Sega
very-
Saturn.
It's very similar to a Sega Saturn controller, you know? I have several of these from
Yeah.
like different companies.
He went through all of them.
Yeah, none of them have a D-pad that's perfect.
It's a legal issue, isn't it? Because like Nintendo has like a trademark on
Oh,
this.
I mean, maybe.
That the D-pads that are single piece, it's because legally they can't make one that's set 4 separate buttons.
Because Nintendo holds the patent.
Yeah, it's some kind of ridiculous BS like that. You know.
Wow.
Maybe.
You know, you can get a converter though for like a Dreamcast controller to a Sega Saturn.
That would be interesting. That'd be nice.
The
That would be
Dreamcast
nice.
controller is giant, but it's not a bad controller.
I don't like the Dreamcast controller. The triggers, I think they're really awkward. I think they're stupid.
Yeah.
But it's a nice D-pad.
Yeah.
It is a nice D-pad. But the point is, how the hell are we this far along? How the hell have there been so many 6-button controllers, and all of them have something about the D-pad that's not perfect? And if I was smart, I would just use a fight stick, or I'd use a hitbox.
Should I
and all
show
these.
him my snack box?
No.
Okay.
If I was-
I forgot we're episode past it.
But if I was smart, I would use that because it's a really good controller and it just works. But I'm stubborn as hell. Honestly, that's like my number one pet peeve: the fact that like we still don't have it. It's crazy.
There's a notice on the screen.
Oh, there's a notice on the screen. What does it say?
There is not enough sufficient disk to continue recording.
Oh no!
I was recording on your computer.
Yeah, it was recording on my computer.
Crap.
Don't worry, it's being streamed.
It's still being streamed,
Yeah.
but that sucks.
Eh.
That's what I get for going off on the tangent.
All right.
You go ahead.
I would say my first memory of video games is probably the NES because my grandmother worked for the Home Shopping Network. And she got
cool.
that stuff for like, I don't know how she acquired it, but she acquired it.
She acquired.
So she had that, and then I remember those, like all I can think of it is like, think of it like those cheesy handheld games that had like that really bad like calculator type screen, and
Oh, well,
you
the
just
Tiger
had
games.
Yeah, the Tiger games.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I remember those all vividly.
Ah.
But the first system we had in the house was PlayStation 1. I got it for Christmas with my sister. It came with Crash Bandicoot and Blasto.
Ooh.
Came with those 2 games. And then obviously arcade games. I was more into arcade games than anything. And then now, honestly, I mean, the last system that I ever purchased was the most recent system that I ever purchased was for myself, not for the arcade. Was a PSP that I freaking
Sorry, that was my
the
shit.
PSP that I hacked to run emulated games through.
Smart.
That was the last thing that I ever did.
Smart.
I don't really play a lot of games
Best
now.
reason to own a PSP.
Exactly. I don't really play a lot of video games now, just because I'm more focused on keeping Flynn's alive
Yes.
than playing. And people find that really fascinating. That they're like, "What? You don't?" And I'm like, "No, because you can't be a user of your own supply. I mean, that'll really mess you up."
Yeah.
So
That's like
yeah,
rule
it's
number
tough.
4 or
It's
something
tough,
like
man.
that.
But we are looking forward to that stream of you playing Stray.
Yes, yeah.
Oh,
Well, that's the only game that I probably will play through. And I want to play through I'm a very, very big fan of Scott Pilgrim. So that one they
Oh,
came out
sure.
with, I really
Yep.
like Scott Pilgrim.
The
I
movie
really
is
The
like
one-
beat 'em up game.
beat 'em up game,
It's
yeah.
a cool game. I played the hell out of it.
One of the best movies I've ever seen.
I want to try that one. But anyways, pet peeves. The pet peeve I would say is,
You can also be the arcade too.
well, yeah, I'm trying to think. Pet peeve today of the gaming world would just be like, I don't know.
People stepping too hard on the dance
No, that's
machine.
easy to fix. Those are easy to fix now. But it's more annoying than anything. I would
can't play this
say,
game and
yeah,
steel-toe
stomping harder
boots.
is not going to make you play better. But they think it will.
Oh, yeah.
God bless them for it. They can do whatever they want.
Godspeed.
I would say, the pet peeve would probably be the sense of the community that once was there, and so enjoyed back when I was in middle school or high school or whatever from the gaming world has kind of dissipated.
Sure.
And I would say that is a shame. That these communities. I mean, Flynn's is like far and in between. There's not a lot of places like this exist anymore because of the
Nope.
mere fact it's very difficult to do this. But It's just the lack of community, you know.
The only things I can think of is here and Arcade Odyssey in Miami. I can't. Think
Well,
of
even though I'm
anything
talking about
else.
like what you think about video game consoles, no place has video game consoles anymore.
Oh yeah,
other than us.
Arcade Audience doesn't.
Other
even
than
do
us,
that.
because of the mere fact of space.
Yeah.
You know, so, but yeah, I would say lack of community. That's the biggest pet peeve. That I wish they were more connected, and not keyboard cowboys. You know, more like face to face. Hey, you got to hash it out. You just talk smack for 5 seconds about your mom or whatever, and you move on with your life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's pet peeve.
Ben?
The thing I really appreciate about gaming is I was more of a PC gamer. The thing that always kind of kept me involved was the mod scene. Even
Nice.
Even when I was playing like StarCraft back in the day, there were like mods to
yeah.
mod in alpha build versions of buildings or different you could have they'd mod it in the Wraiths and instead they'd be X-wings from Star Wars.
Dang.
Stuff like that was always really cool, and that it would breathe life into games. And then as I was getting older, a game that sucked up a lot of my time was Homeworld, and there was tons and tons of mods for that. And being big into anime, there was like Macross and Robotech mods. So instead of my little spaceships, now it's the fighters flying around. And then there was Gundam mods for that. So I something that I really love about just gaming in general is, especially with PC gaming, is the modding community. But it also kind of leads into the pet peeve of where developers do half-finished games and they expect the modding community to just
Yes.
fix it yourself. Like you mentioned, Skyrim
Yes.
is like
God.
what was the thing where there was a notorious thing where they charged for DLC for armor for your horse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was in Oblivion.
But was it Oblivion or Skyrim? But like the modders had already done that like months ago,
Yeah.
and it looked like to the casual observer they had just taken that code. I'm sure this is not exactly what happened, but how it looks, they just took that code,
Sold it.
and then sold it, and just this is probably something that was like 5 minutes to program and probably should have been in the game on launch.
yeah.
But
Damn.
yeah, so I really love the modding community. I kind of hate that, a lot of developers use it as a crutch to, it's the game's half finished, but if we don't patch it, the modders will fix it.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's a big problem.
Yeah, and
If you like Elder Scrolls and Skyrim, fine. I'm not gonna chastise you, but that's a big reason why I don't have any respect for that whole franchise.
yeah,
Because with like Daggerfall and Morrowind, it's like, all right, I'll give you respect for doing it so early, for having such a big world. From Oblivion onwards, like, get your shit together.
yeah. The other
Agreed.
the other problem is like the guy that's like, oh, this sword weighs 5 pounds. That's completely unrealistic. 5 minutes later, his mount is like Twilight Sparkle from My Little Pony, and his companion is Keith Lockhart, and it's like, perfect. This is exactly what I wanted. It's like, this isn't even the same game anymore. It's like, I don't know what this is, but it's certainly not what it was.
God.
Oh man. So and also, if you got more, but and then
Yeah,
also-
that's pretty much it.
well. Oh, but yeah, that's right. You said pet peeve. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
That
kind of
was
both
it.
at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh goodness.
And Waluigi, down to you. The young one.
I know. What made me appreciate gaming was seeing a lot of these commercials when you were younger, just imagining like Pokemon and such.
Yes. With no censorship.
Exactly. Because it
They're
has
pretty
no
bad. They're
creation.
pretty raw. I mean, they made you think. Like
What-
some of the video game commercials.
Commercials back in the day.
Like,
yeah.
I don't remember like a particularly racy Pokemon
No,
commercial.
But I'm saying like, I'm saying like,
In
they had no
general, though.
problem insulting your intelligence or like,
Oh, they
you know,
should.
make fun of you.
Yeah, they
You know what I'm
should.
saying?
Being crass.
Or being crass, or like, being as far as they could push the envelope. Now it's all very PC.
Do you remember the
Oh,
Dead
yeah.
Space commercials? It was like the game your mom hates.
Yeah.
And it was just like,
I remember that.
what the heck?
They filmed it like it was a very candid camera kind of thing.
I think they had like grannies watching it and going, oh
Yeah.
my God.
And then the light was dark, so it had like this green light effect,
Yeah.
for like the night vision effect.
I remember that.
And it was just very like, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
But talking about those old '90s commercials, remember the one for Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island, where it was because Yoshi like just eats all the time.
Right.
And it was the commercial about this guy in a restaurant just stuffing his
Yes,
face
I remember that.
endlessly
I remember that.
until he got so fat that he exploded. And when he exploded, there was the cartridge, or the box. It's like crass and gross
I
commercials.
think the most illogical things
People
that
could
these
take a
cartoons
joke.
have.
People could take a joke. It wasn't serious.
Cool. It was cool. Nowadays, it's like,
Yeah,
Legend of Zelda dance number. That's a good
maybe
one.
the olden days weren't so good after all.
slightly. Smash Bros. Commercials, even the God of War 3 like commercials.
the
the
Smash
GameStop
64.
pre-orders that show you what they're going to be pre-ordering, but with a little joke in it. That's
Yeah.
what I miss about GameStop, like the classicness of like you already know what you're going to get. We don't have to tell you. It's already on TV.
I miss the early days of GameStop. But before we learned about their business practices.
When we were still naive.
Yes.
Yes.
My first job was at a GameStop.
I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
Same here. Yeah.
So was Herb's, fun fact, even though he's another boomer that's not here.
Oh yeah. Shame. It'd be cool if Herbs was here.
Nice.
Next one.
He's ducking. Anyway,
Free
I'll
copy of
have a different cast of people by then.
Sure.
pet peeves, I would say definitely parental guidance, lack of community from other game developing companies that can't even reach out to people, answer proper questions, or do a Q&A, ask me anything. Something to at least get people's attention and say, hey, maybe this is a chance my voice can come out. Because we're in modern day where we have like 8 different social medias where companies would join us or will join in so we can just follow them, get their advice and such. But they would just say, hey, here's a new game, forget you guys.
Yeah.
That's
They don't care to have a discussion.
Yeah, the only people it seems to go through a lot through is Twitter, which is very effective. Like Arxis is definitely on clutch with some of the things that they request.
Yeah, you just bully them online
Exactly.
to the point where it's like, all right, you know what? We
God.
give in. You guys harass us enough online. We will give in to your demands. You want what? Another new DLC character? Fine, we'll give it to you. Just stop harassing us.
Yeah, modern day cyberbullying is actually respectable for once.
That image of the depressed smiley.
You were the man that started that too.
Did you start that? Or
No,
did you
I
pick it up from someone?
I picked it up from someone and I was like, I'm chiming in too.
And you just joined every single time I see this. I'm like, oh shit, here we go again.
That image has become iconic and synonymous with Grand Blue.
It got
And,
forced.
and finally, we can stop using it.
Yes.
Nah, it's still gonna be used. Watch.
Well, they're going to use it for another game. They're going to use it for Under Night now.
Yep. Alrighty, y'all. Well, that concludes tonight's podcast. Thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in. Be sure to follow all of us on our social medias. Where can they find all of y'all?
You can find me mostly on YouTube and Twitter. 4 face buttons, all one word, should be easy to find. Go ahead.
You can find us on Twitter and TikTok and YouTube and Facebook and everywhere. Instagram at Flynn's, FLYNNS, Gaming FL. Flynn's Gaming FL.
What about the location?
We are in, well, I hope that they know where we're at by now, but we
we're
are
located.
located, I always put that, Flynn's Arcade more in Margate, Florida. In Margate, Florida, just Google Flynn's Arcade and more, and it'll pop up. And we have weekly tournaments on Fridays, usually Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays typically.
Yeah.
So here at Flynn's.
I'm pretty much on all social media as Uber's Cosplay. Most active on Instagram, though mostly now just pictures of my dogs. So if you like the dogs, check me out.
They also have their own Instagram.
They do.
Alrighty, y'all. Well, that concludes episode 70 of the South Florida Gamers podcast. We will catch you guys on the next one.
Later.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.